I learned something about fear at 3 in the morning on a Tuesday. It doesn't announce itself. It just sits across the street in a gray sedan, watching. I was refilling the salt shakers when I first saw him, the man who'd been lurking outside the diner for 4 nights straight. My hands were shaking so badly I spilled salt across the counter like scattered bones. That's when I did something stupid. I walked straight to the last booth where he always sat, Matteo Carbone, the man in the $1,000 suit who ordered black coffee and left $100 tips, the man whose presence made even drunk customers straighten their spines. "Someone's following me," I whispered, and his dark eyes found mine with an intensity that stole my breath. What I didn't know then, I'd saved his son's life 6 months ago, and men like Matteo Carbone never forget a debt. I learned something about fear at 3 in the morning on a Tuesday. It doesn't announce itself. It just sits across the street in a gray sedan, watching. The diner's fluorescent lights buzzed above my head while I refilled salt shakers, busy work to keep my hands from shaking. Outside, rain painted the windows in streaks. I'd been telling myself for 4 nights that the man in the gray sedan was nothing, just another parked car in a city full of them. But fear lives in your body before it reaches your brain, and my hands had been trembling since Sunday. Tonight, I knocked over an entire container of salt. It scattered across the counter like tiny white bones. That's when I did something stupid. I looked up at the last booth where Matteo Carbone always sat, and he was already watching me. He came every Tuesday and Friday, arriving at 2:30 and staying until dawn. Black coffee, occasionally pie, always impeccably dressed in suits that cost more than my monthly rent. But it wasn't the clothes that made people nervous. It was the way he inhabited space, like gravity bent toward him, like the air itself acknowledged his presence first. I'd never spoken to him beyond taking his order. There was an unspoken rule. You didn't bother Matteo Carbone. You took his order, brought his food, left the check face down, and didn't ask questions when he left $100 bills for a $7 tab. But tonight, fear made me reckless. I walked straight to his booth, my apron covered in salt, hands clenched into fists to hide the shaking. Up close, he was even more unsettling. Dark eyes that absorbed light rather than reflected it. A face that would have been handsome if it wasn't so carefully controlled. A thin white scar along his jawline, the kind that came from something sharp. He didn't look surprised to see me. He looked like he'd been expecting me. "Someone's following me," I whispered. The words came out broken, barely audible. I hadn't planned this moment, but there I was, confessing my terror to a stranger who looked like he'd stepped out of a film about beautiful, dangerous men who made people disappear. Matteo's gaze held mine for 3 seconds that felt like hours. Then he pulled out his phone and sent a single message. He set it face down on the table. "Sit," he said. It wasn't quite a request, not quite a command, something in between. I sat. The vinyl booth creaked. My uniform smelled like fryer grease and desperation. I was suddenly aware of how I must look. Exhausted, underpaid, dissolving at the edges, my ponytail coming loose, coffee stain on my collar, hands that wouldn't stop shaking. "How long?" Matteo asked. His voice was quieter than I'd expected, measured. 4 nights, maybe longer. He nodded once. Outside, a man emerged from the side entrance. Tony, one of his people. Tall, built like a wall, moving into the rain-soaked street without looking back. I watched him disappear, throat tight with relief and a new kind of fear. "Tell me your name," Matteo said. "You know my name. It's on my tag." The corner of his mouth lifted, barely. "Tell me anyway." Leah Souza." He repeated it quietly, testing the weight. "How long have you worked here? 3 years? Why does that matter?" "Everything matters." The fluorescent light above flickered. In that stutter of illumination, I caught something in his expression, not sympathy, but recognition. Like he understood what it meant to be watched, to feel hunted. "Do you live alone?" he asked. "That's none of your business." "It is now." I should have left. Should have finished my shift and gone home to triple lock my door like I did every night. But something kept me pinned to that booth. Maybe exhaustion. Maybe the way he looked at me. Not through me, like most people, but at me. "Yes," I said. "I live alone." "Family in the city?" "No." "Friends you trust?" I laughed, sharp and brittle. If I had friends I trusted, do you think I'd be talking to you? That almost smile flickered again. Fair enough. My phone buzzed. I jumped, hand flying to my chest. Mateo's eyes tracked the movement with precision. It's probably nothing, I said, not believing it. I pulled out my phone. Unknown number. The message made my stomach drop. Pretty uniform. You should wear your hair down more often. The phone slipped from my fingers. Mateo caught it before it hit the table. He read the message, expression unchanged, then set it down carefully like evidence. When did this start? Tonight. Just now. First time. He was already texting, thumbs moving with brutal efficiency. Through the window, I could see Tony across the street talking to someone, a man in a dark jacket, hood obscuring his face. The conversation looked calm, but Tony's positioning suggested violence hovering just beneath civility. Is that him? I whispered. Mateo didn't look up. Probably. What's Tony doing? His job. The hooded figure stepped back, then walked away into the rain-dark streets. I waited for relief. It didn't come. What did he tell him? Mateo finally looked at me. That you're not alone anymore. The words should have been comforting. They felt like a door closing. I don't understand. Why are you helping me? You don't even know me. Something shifted in his expression. Subtle, painful, gone before I could name it. I know you, he said quietly. No, you don't. I know you pulled a kid out of traffic 6 months ago. March 14th, 3:30, outside Riverside Elementary. The air left my lungs. My mind raced backward through forgotten moments until I landed on that day. Late for my shift, cutting through the school district, a boy in a blue backpack stepping into the street, the screech of brakes, my hands grabbing his shoulders. The driver hadn't even stopped. I'd barely stopped. Just made sure the kid was okay before hurrying away because I was already 20 minutes late. How do you know about that? Mateo's jaw tightened. That was my son. The diner tilted. The lights buzzed louder. His name is Nico. Mateo continued, voice steady but vibrating underneath. He's 8. He has ADHD. He almost died that day because he was thinking about a book instead of watching the street. You grabbed him. You probably don't even remember his face. I remember, I said. Brown eyes, curly hair, dinosaur backpack. He came home and told me about the nice lady who saved him, said you smelled like coffee and had kind eyes. He repeated it 5 times because he doesn't have many reference points for kindness from strangers. I couldn't speak. I found your diner within 2 hours. Started coming here to make sure you were real, that you existed, that the woman who saved my son was safe, and now someone's targeting you, because of me. I don't understand. You will, but not tonight. Tonight you go home, pack a bag, and don't come back until I tell you it's safe. I can't just leave. I have shifts, bills. Your rent is paid through December. Your landlord won't bother you. Your manager will call tomorrow with paid leave. You won't lose your job or apartment, but you will leave. Tonight. The certainty in his voice was terrifying. He'd already arranged my life, made calls, moved pieces I couldn't see. I don't want your charity. It's not charity. It's a debt I'll never finish repaying. I stood too quickly. The table edge caught my hip. Pain bloomed. I need to finish my shift. Leah? The way he said my name stopped me. Almost gentle. Your shift ended 10 minutes ago. Maria clocked you out. Your tips are behind the register. Go home, pack. I'll have someone outside your building. You can't just decide. I don't. But I'm deciding anyway. Because the man following you isn't random. He's professional. And professionals don't work alone. What do you mean? You became valuable the moment you touched my son. People who want to hurt me will use anything valuable they can find. Or the right person's child, I heard myself say. His expression shifted. Or the right person's. Tony entered, rain dripping from his coat. He nodded once at Mateo. My stalker was gone, for now. Why are you really helping me? I asked. Tell me the real reason. Mateo stood, buttoning his jacket. Because I know what it's like to be hunted. When you're alone and scared and no one comes, you saw my son? So I'm going to make sure someone sees you. He placed $500 on the table. For your trouble. And your fear? Both are expensive. He walked past me. I caught the scent of his cologne, dark and woody. Wrong for this place. What's your son's favorite book? The one he was thinking about? Mateo paused in the doorway. Percy Jackson, The Lightning Thief. He's read it 9 times. Thinks he might be a demigod. Despite everything, I smiled. That's a good book. It is. He turned, eyes finding mine. Go home, Leah Souza. Pack. Someone named Marcus will be outside in a blue Honda. He won't speak unless there's danger. And if I don't want protection, then you'll die, and I'll have to explain to my son why the kind lady isn't alive anymore. I'd prefer not to have that conversation. The door closed. I watched his car disappear into rain and distance. Maria came from the kitchen. You okay, honey? I don't know. That man's been asking about you. Protective asking. You know him. I saved his son once. Maria nodded like this made sense. Men like that don't forget debts. If he says someone's after you, someone's after you. If he says he'll protect you, he will or die trying. I grabbed my tips and walked into the rain. The blue Honda was exactly where he'd said. On the subway home, I thought about everything. About Nico and his dinosaur backpack. About Mateo's voice when he'd said kind eyes. About the message, pretty uniform. You should wear your hair down more often. Someone had been that close. My building was in a neighborhood where sirens were white noise, 4 flights up. When I unlocked my door, I saw it immediately, a white envelope on my kitchen counter. Leah Souza, an elegant script. Inside was a card. You saved my world. Now someone wants to use you to destroy it. I won't let that happen. MC below, in childlike handwriting. Thank you for saving me. My dad says you have kind eyes. I think so too. Nico. Something cracked in my chest. My phone buzzed. Check your apartment. Make sure nothing's moved or taken. Text this number when you're done. Don't lie about what you find. I searched systematically. Everything normal until I opened my closet. My clothes had been touched, shifted. And on the floor, behind my laundry basket, a small black device with a blinking red light. A camera. Or microphone. Or both. Someone had been inside my home. I texted with shaking fingers. Camera in closet. Don't know how long. Response within seconds. Don't touch it. Pack 3 days of clothes, toiletries, documents. Marcus comes up in 10 minutes. You're not staying there tonight. I packed mechanically. Everything that mattered fit in one bag. 9 minutes later, 3 controlled knocks. Through the peephole, a black man in his 40s showed me his phone. This is Marcus. Let him in. Marcus examined the device without touching it. Took photographs. You did good noticing this. Most people wouldn't. How long has it been there? At least a week, maybe more. A week of every private moment watched or recorded. Who put it there? Marcus met my eyes. People who make mistakes. People who don't understand what happens when you threaten something Mr. Carbone cares about. I'm not something he cares about. You saved his son's life. That makes you family, whether you want to be or not. We drove through rain-slicked streets. Marcus broke the silence. Mr. Carbone has a place outside the city. Quiet, secure. He'll tell you everything. Who's after you? Why? What it takes to keep you alive. I pressed my forehead against the cold window, exhaustion overtaking fear. My phone buzzed one last time. I didn't want to look, but I did. Sit down and tell me your name again. Except it wasn't from Mateo. It was from the stalker. Below the message, a photograph taken tonight of me sitting in Mateo's booth. The exact moment I'd whispered someone's following me. Someone had been close enough to hear. To record. To know. The safe house wasn't what I expected. I'd imagined something clinical. Steel doors and security cameras, the kind of place that announced its function through architecture. Instead, Marcus drove us 40 minutes outside the city to a neighborhood where houses had actual yards and the streetlights worked. He pulled into the driveway of a 2-story colonial with dark shutters and a porch light that cast warm shadows across dormant flower beds. This is it, I asked, unable to hide my skepticism. Mr. Carbone doesn't advertise, Marcus said simply. The best security is the kind no one notices. Inside, the house felt lived in. Hardwood floors, Furniture that looked comfortable rather than expensive. Photographs on the mantle of people I didn't recognize. It could have been anyone's home, which was probably the point. Guest rooms upstairs. Second door on the right, Marcus said, setting my duffel bag by the stairs. Bathrooms across the hall. Kitchens stocked. Don't answer the door. Don't go outside without telling me first. Where will you be? He gestured toward a room off the kitchen. Monitoring. Sleeping when I can. You won't see me unless something's wrong. But I'm here. And Mateo? Marcus checked his watch. He'll be here by 7. Get some rest if you can. Rest. The word felt foreign. I climbed the stairs, each step heavier than the last, and found the guest room exactly as promised. Clean sheets, empty dresser. A window overlooking the backyard where moonlight turned everything silver and strange. I sat on the edge of the bed and tried to remember what normal felt like. What my life had been 12 hours ago. Before I'd walked up to Matteo Carbone and shattered whatever illusion of safety I'd been clinging to. My phone sat dark and heavy in my pocket. I pulled it out, stared at the last message. The photograph of me in the diner booth. Vulnerable and unaware. Someone had been that close. Close enough to capture my fear in high definition. I should have been terrified. Should have been crying or panicking or doing something other than sitting in this strange house feeling oddly calm. But exhaustion does strange things to the nervous system. After 4 nights of fear, my body had nothing left. I lay back on the bed, still fully dressed, and closed my eyes. Sleep came in fractured pieces. Dreams of rain-soaked streets and blinking red lights, and Nico's small hand in mine as I pulled him back from the edge of something vast and hungry. I woke to gray dawn light and the smell of coffee drifting up from downstairs. 7:15. I'd slept 4 hours. My body felt like it belonged to someone else. I found Matteo in the kitchen, standing at the counter with his back to me. He'd traded the suit for dark jeans and a black sweater, sleeves pushed to his elbows. It was startling. Seeing him dressed like a normal person, it made him somehow more dangerous, not less. Coffee? He asked without turning. How did you know I was here? The third step from the top creaks. I crossed to the counter, keeping distance between us. He poured coffee into a plain white mug and slid it across to me. No cream, no sugar. Black. The way I'd served it to him at the diner every week for 6 weeks. You remember how I take my coffee? I said. I remember everything. The statement hung between us. I sipped the coffee, too hot, bitter, grounding, and studied him in the morning light. Without the armor of his suit, I could see the exhaustion etched around his eyes, the tension in his shoulders. He looked like someone who carried the weight of 1,000 decisions and never put it down. You said you'd tell me everything, I said. Who's after me? Why? Matteo nodded slowly. He pulled out his phone and set it on the counter between us. A photograph appeared on the screen. A man in his 50s, silver hair, expensive suit, eyes that looked dead even in 2 dimensions. Enzo Valente, Matteo said. He runs 3 boroughs worth of illegal gambling, loan sharking, and information brokering. He collects secrets like some people collect art, uses them to control politicians, businessmen, anyone with something to hide. What does he want with me? Leverage. I've spent the last 5 years making my operations legitimate. Cleaned up the shipping business, divested from anything illegal, paid my taxes. Enzo hates it. To him, going legitimate is betrayal, weakness. So he targets me to get to you. He targets anyone I care about. Matteo's jaw tightened. 6 months ago, I hired a new accountant, Bruno Mendez. Came with excellent references, 15 years of experience. What I didn't know was that Enzo planted him. Bruno's been falsifying documents, creating paper trails that connect you to my business, forged car registrations, fake financial transfers. On paper, it looks like I've been paying you for months. The coffee turned bitter in my mouth. Paying me for what? Whatever story sells. Companion? Informant? Accomplice. Enzo doesn't care about truth. He cares about perception. I set the mug down carefully, afraid I'd throw it. So I'm what? Collateral damage in your corporate restructuring? You're someone who saved my son. Matteo's voice dropped, rough with something I couldn't name. That made you valuable to me, which made you a target for him. I didn't ask for any of this. I know. I pulled a kid out of traffic. That's it. One decent thing in a life full of trying to survive. And now I'm being hunted because of it. Mateo's eyes met mine, and I saw the weight there. Guilt, determination, something that might have been grief. Yes. And I'm sorry, but sorry doesn't keep you alive. I wanted to scream at him, wanted to demand he undo whatever chain of events he'd set in motion. But anger required energy I didn't have. Instead, I asked the question that had been burning since last night. The man following me, Damon Pierce, where is he now? Being questioned. By who? People who work for me. The casual way he said it made my stomach turn. You mean he's being hurt? I mean he's being asked questions he doesn't want to answer. Mateo picked up his own coffee. There's a difference. Is there? Would you prefer I'd let him keep watching you? Let him report back to Enzo about your schedule? Your habits? Where you're vulnerable? I had no answer for that. The moral high ground felt very far away. Mateo swiped to another photo. This one showed a younger man, early 40s, thinning hair, nervous smile, Bruno Mendez, my accountant, the one who built the false connections between us. Where is he? Gone. Disappeared 3 days ago when he realized I was getting close to the truth. Mateo's expression hardened, but he left a trail. Bank accounts, encrypted files, communication records. We're unraveling it. I have people who specialize in this kind of work. The vagueness felt deliberate. I didn't push. Mateo showed me a third photo. This one hit different. A man in a federal agent's badge photo. Square jaw, American flag pin on his lapel, eyes that had seen too much and stopped caring. Agent Harlan Doyle, Mateo said. 15 years with the FBI. Decorated, respected, also completely corrupt. He's been feeding Enzo information from federal investigations for the last 3 years. Sealed warrants, witness locations, evidence logs. How do you know? Because I paid him too. Before I went legitimate, he was useful until he wasn't. The casual admission of bribery shouldn't have shocked me, but it did. This was the world I'd stumbled into, where federal agents sold information and accountants built false lives and everyone had a price. Why are you telling me this? I asked. All these names, these crimes. You barely know me. Mateo set his phone down. Because you deserve to understand what you're up against. And because keeping you in the dark won't protect you. Ignorance isn't safety. It's just a different kind of trap. The kitchen felt too small suddenly. I crossed to the window overlooking the backyard. Morning light turned the grass gold. It looked peaceful, false. So what happens now? I asked the window. I hide here forever. Change my name? Disappear? No. Mateo's reflection appeared in the glass behind me. Now we expose them. Enzo, Bruno, Doyle, the entire network. We give the evidence to someone who can't be bought. And how do we do that? Very carefully. I turned to face him. That's not an answer. It's the only answer I have right now. He was closer than I'd realized, close enough that I could see the scar on his jawline in detail, could smell coffee and something clean like soap. But I need you to trust me, just for a little while. You've been paying my rent, watching me, orchestrating my life without asking. Trust isn't exactly in abundance here. Something flickered across his face. Regret. Maybe. You're right. I should have approached you differently. Told you sooner. But 6 months ago, you were just someone who'd done a kind thing. I was grateful. That was all. Then Enzo started moving pieces, planting Bruno, sending Damon. By the time I realized you were in danger, honesty felt like a luxury I couldn't afford. Protection without honesty is just control, I said, echoing my own words from last night. I know. Mateo stepped back, giving me space. So ask me anything. Right now. No evasions. You deserve that much. The offer felt like a test. Or maybe a gift. I considered him in the morning light. This man who'd upended my life, and asked the question that had been forming since I'd seen Nico's note. Tell me about your son. The real version, not the edited one. Mateo's expression softened in a way I hadn't seen before. He pulled out his phone again, but this time the photo was personal. A boy with dark curls and a gap-toothed smile, holding up a drawing of what looked like a 3-headed dog. That's Cerberus, Mateo said quietly. From Percy Jackson. He drew that the night after you saved him, wanted to give it to you, but I told him I didn't know where you were. I lied. I knew exactly where you were. Why didn't you introduce us? Because I didn't want him getting attached to someone I couldn't protect yet. And because I didn't know if you'd want anything to do with us once you learned who I was. The honesty in his voice surprised me. I studied the photo. Nico's joy so unguarded, so pure, and felt something shift in my chest. Where is he now? With my sister in Connecticut. Safe, away from all of this. Does he know someone's after me? He knows you needed help. That's enough for now. I handed the phone back. Our fingers brushed. The contact was brief, electric. We both stepped back like we'd touched something hot. I need air, I said abruptly. You can't go outside. Then open a window. Give me something. I'm not built for cages. Mateo studied me for a long moment, then nodded. The back porch. Stay close to the house. Marcus will be watching. I grabbed my coffee and stepped through the sliding door onto the porch. Cold air hit my face, sharp and cleansing. I sank into a wicker chair and stared at the yard, trying to sort through the impossible tangle of the last 12 hours. Mateo followed after a minute, keeping his distance but present. We sat in silence, drinking coffee, watching nothing happen. It should have been uncomfortable. It wasn't. It felt like two people catching their breath between catastrophes. My mother used to say fear is just love in a mask, I said finally, surprising myself, that we're only afraid of losing what we care about. Smart woman. She was. Pancreatic cancer. 3 years ago. I'm sorry. She would have liked this house. The yard. She always wanted a garden. Mateo was quiet for a moment. Then, when this is over, we'll plant one. In her name. The offer was so unexpected, so genuine, that I had to look away. Tears burned behind my eyes, and I blinked them back furiously. You don't have to do that. I know, but I'd like to. Before I could respond, Marcus appeared in the doorway, his expression tense. We have a problem. Mateo was on his feet instantly. What kind? Doyle just called your office. Says he knows where Leah is. Says he has proof she's been working with you all along. He's threatening to take it to his supervisor unless you meet with him. He's bluffing. Maybe. Marcus glanced at me, then back to Mateo. But there's more. Your lawyer called. Bruno's body was found an hour ago, dumped in the river. Single gunshot to the head. The world tilted. I gripped the chair's armrest. Enzo's cleaning house, Mateo said, his voice cold and controlled. Getting rid of anyone who can connect him to this, which means Leah's next, Marcus said quietly. If Bruno's dead, she's the only loose end left. Mateo turned to me, and I saw something in his eyes I hadn't seen before. Fear, not for himself, for me. We're moving you, he said. Today, somewhere even I won't know about. What? No. I stood, coffee forgotten. You said we'd expose them. We will. But not if you're dead. I'm not running. You are. Mateo's voice turned sharp. This isn't negotiable. Enzo just killed his own accountant. He'll kill you without thinking twice. Then let me help. I can testify. I can... You can stay alive. Mateo closed the distance between us, his hands gripping my shoulders. Please, let me do this one thing right. Let me keep you safe. The please undid me. The vulnerability beneath the command. I saw the truth then. He wasn't trying to control me. He was terrified of failing me the way he must have failed others. Okay, I whispered. Okay. Mateo's phone rang. He glanced at the screen, and every muscle in his body tensed. He answered without speaking. A voice crackled through, tinny but clear enough that I could hear. Mr. Carbone, this is Agent Doyle. I believe we have something to discuss. I have nothing to say to you. Not even about the flash drive Bruno left behind? The one with all his files? Doyle's laugh was ugly. Or should I say, the one I now have. Turns out your accountant was smarter than you thought. Insurance policy. Very detailed. Names, dates, transactions, and several very interesting videos. Mateo's jaw clenched. What do you want? Meet me, alone, tonight at 10. The old Riverside Warehouse District. You know the place. And if I don't? Then tomorrow morning, your girlfriend's face is on every news channel in the state, along with evidence of conspiracy, money laundering, and obstruction of justice. I'm sure the media will love the story of a mafia boss and his pretty waitress." The line went dead. Matteo stood frozen, phone pressed to his ear, his face a mask carved from stone. When he finally lowered the phone, his eyes met mine, and I saw something terrible there. The realization that he'd miscalculated, that his protection hadn't been enough, that despite everything, I was exactly where Enzo wanted me. "He's using me as bait," I said. "To draw you out." "Yes. So what do we do?" Matteo looked at Marcus, some unspoken communication passing between them. Then he turned back to me, and when he spoke, his voice carried the weight of a promise I wasn't sure either of us could keep. "We give them what they want, but not the way they expect." Before I could ask what that meant, his phone buzzed with a message. He looked at the screen and his face went white. He turned the phone toward me. On the screen was a video file. The thumbnail showed my apartment, my bedroom, specifically, taken from the angle of the hidden camera, and in the corner, a timestamp. Last night, the exact moment I'd been packing to leave. Below it, a message from an unknown number. "You were chosen as a message. She dies at midnight unless you come alone. No police, no tricks, just you. E." The warehouse district at night looked like the skeleton of something that used to matter. Abandoned shipping containers stacked like rusted dominoes, broken windows reflecting nothing. Streets where streetlights had given up years ago, leaving only darkness and the distant sound of water lapping against rotted docks. This was where cities went to forget their industrial past, and where men like Enzo Valente conducted business that required witnesses to disappear. I wasn't supposed to be here. Matteo had been explicit. I'd stay at the safe house with Marcus while he handled Doyle's meeting alone. He'd outlined the plan with clinical precision. Arrive early, assess the situation, use the wire Marcus had prepared to record everything. Simple, controlled, safe, but then he'd left. And I'd sat in that guest room for exactly 47 minutes before the walls started closing in. I wasn't built for waiting while someone else walked into danger on my behalf. Maybe that made me reckless. Maybe it made me stupid. But sitting still while Matteo offered himself as bait for a trap meant to catch me felt like cowardice dressed up as obedience. So I'd done something Matteo would absolutely hate. I'd slipped out through the basement window while Marcus was monitoring the security feeds upstairs, stolen the spare car keys from the kitchen drawer, and driven straight into the nightmare I was supposed to avoid. Now I crouched behind a shipping container 200 yards from the designated warehouse, my phone on silent, my breathing too loud in the industrial silence. The cold bit through my jacket. I'd left in such a hurry I'd forgotten gloves. My hands were numb. Or maybe that was just fear. Matteo's car sat alone near the warehouse entrance, black and sleek and wrong in this landscape of decay. No other vehicles, no sign of Doyle or Enzo's people, just emptiness that felt like a held breath. I checked my phone. 9:47. 13 minutes until the meeting. A text from Marcus glowed on the screen. "Where the hell are you?" I typed back, "I'm sorry," then powered the phone off completely. If they tracked me, they'd drag me back. And I couldn't explain why I needed to be here except that watching from safety while someone else bled for me felt like a betrayal of something fundamental. Movement near the warehouse. I pressed myself flatter against the cold metal, heart hammering. A figure emerged from the shadows. Tall, broad-shouldered, moving with lethal grace. Matteo. He wore all black, his face unreadable at this distance. He scanned the perimeter with professional efficiency, and for one terrible moment I thought his gaze would land on me, that he'd see my hiding spot and everything would unravel. But he turned toward the warehouse entrance and disappeared inside. I waited 30 seconds. Then I moved. The shipping container maze provided cover as I crept closer. My boots made too much noise on the gravel. Every step felt like an announcement, but the wind off the river helped, carrying sound away from the warehouse, and I reached a position 15 feet from a broken side window where I could hear without being seen. Matteo's voice drifted through the broken glass. "I'm here, alone, like you asked." "Are you?" Another voice, older, rough with cigarettes and corruption. "Agent Doyle?" "Because I'd hate to think you'd disrespect our arrangement by bringing company." "Where's the flash drive?" "Right here." The sound of something sliding across concrete. Everything Bruno collected, names, transactions, video footage. Quite the insurance policy your accountant built. Smart man. Shame about what happened to him. You killed him. Me? Doyle laughed. I'm a federal agent, Mr. Carbone. I don't kill people. I just happen to know who does. The casual admission made my stomach turn. I edged closer to the window, risking a glance inside. The warehouse was mostly empty, gutted long ago, leaving only support beams and shadows. Doyle stood in the center, a small USB drive visible in his palm. He looked exactly like his photo. Square jaw, dead eyes, the kind of man who'd sold his soul so long ago he'd forgotten what having one felt like. Mateo stood 20 feet away, hands loose at his sides, every line of his body controlled. But I'd learned to read the tension in his shoulders, the slight tilt of his head that meant he was calculating angles and exits. What do you want? Mateo asked. What everyone wants. Money, safety, a comfortable retirement. Doyle pocketed the flash drive. Your girlfriend's quite the complication. Innocent civilian caught up in organized crime. The media would eat that story alive. She's not involved. Oh, but the evidence says otherwise. Bruno did excellent work. Phone records, financial transfers, even some creative photo editing. On paper, Leah Souza has been your kept woman for 6 months. Those records are fake. You know they're fake. Do I? Doyle shrugged. All I know is what the documents show, and what they show is enough to destroy you both, unless we come to an arrangement. Name your price. $2 million, cash, delivered by tomorrow night. The number hung in the cold air. I watched Mateo's face, saw something flicker there. Not shock, calculation. And the drive? Yours, along with my guarantee that no one else has copies. Doyle smiled, and it was the ugliest thing I'd ever seen. I'm a businessman, Mr. Carbone. I deal in information and discretion. Pay me, and I'll forget this entire situation exists. You expect me to believe Enzo doesn't have copies? Enzo? Doyle's laugh echoed off the warehouse walls. Enzo's a dying breed. Thinks threats and violence solve everything. Me, I prefer profit. So yes, I took Bruno's insurance policy before delivering his body to Enzo. What Enzo doesn't know won't hurt me. The admission was so casual, so monstrous. This man had stolen evidence, murdered an informant, and was now extorting Mateo while playing both sides against each other. Mateo took a step forward. You're lying. Enzo sent you. This whole thing is a setup to draw me out. Believe what you want, but at 10 o'clock, I'm walking out of here, with or without your agreement. And if I walk out without it, every news outlet in the state gets an anonymous package by morning. I should have stayed hidden. Should have let Mateo handle this. But the warehouse had other entrances, and I'd seen something Doyle and Mateo hadn't. Shadows moving along the far wall. Multiple figures, positioning themselves. This wasn't a negotiation. It was an ambush. I did something catastrophically stupid. I stood up and threw a piece of broken concrete at the warehouse's metal roof. The clang echoed like a gunshot. Inside, both men spun toward the sound. And in that moment of distraction, the shadows along the far wall moved. 5 men, maybe 6, emerging from concealment with weapons drawn. Get down, I screamed through the broken window. Mateo reacted instantly, diving behind a support beam as gunfire erupted. Doyle wasn't as fast. The first shot caught him in the chest. He went down hard, blood blooming across his shirt, the flash drive skittering from his hand across the dirty concrete. Everything became chaos and sound. Muzzle flashes in the darkness, concrete exploding into dust. I dropped below the window line, pressing myself against the wall as bullets punched through the metal above my head. My ears rang. My heart tried to break through my ribs. Mateo returned fire from behind the beam. When had he drawn a gun? Controlled bursts that spoke of training and experience I'd never questioned until now. 2 of the attackers went down. The others scattered for cover. Then silence. Terrible, ringing silence. Leah. Mateo's voice cut through the darkness, rough with fury and fear. Tell me you're not here. Tell me that wasn't you. I couldn't answer. Couldn't make my voice work. I heard footsteps inside, running, retreating. Car engines starting in the distance. The ambush was falling apart. Whoever had planned it, realizing this had gone wrong. Mateo appeared at the window above me. Blood streaked his face from a cut near his temple. His eyes found mine, and the look there was incandescent. "Stay there," he commanded. "Don't move. Don't fucking move." He disappeared back inside. I heard him crossing to where Doyle had fallen. Heard the wet sound of labored breathing. "Where's Enzo?" Mateo demanded. Doyle's laugh turned into a cough. "You think this was Enzo? You're even stupider than I thought." "Then who? You really don't know?" The agent's voice was fading, each word weaker. "This whole thing, it was never about the girl. She was just the excuse. The thing that made you vulnerable." "What are you talking about?" "Look closer. At your own people. Look at who benefits if you're gone." A rattling exhale, then silence. I heard Mateo curse quietly. Then he was at the window, climbing through, pulling me up with hands that shook despite their strength. "Are you hurt?" he demanded, his hands running over my arms, my shoulders, checking for injuries. "Did they hit you?" "No, I'm fine. What the hell were you thinking?" His voice cracked between fury and relief. "You could have been killed. You should have stayed at the safe house. You would have been killed. They were waiting. It was an ambush." "I know." His hands stilled on my shoulders. "I knew before I walked in. The wire Marcus gave me has a panic button. Backup's 2 minutes out." "Then why did you come alone?" "Because I needed to know who was really behind this." Mateo's jaw tightened. Doyle was supposed to be the answer. But he's right. This doesn't track. Enzo's methods are brutal but direct. This is too complicated. Too many moving pieces. Sirens wailed in the distance. "Coming closer. We need to move," Mateo said, "before police arrive and this becomes an official incident." "What about the flash drive?" He held it up. "Already have it. Took it from Doyle's pocket." "He's dead?" "Yes. And when they process this scene, they'll find a corrupt federal agent who met with known criminals and got caught in crossfire. It'll raise questions we don't want asked." He grabbed my hand and pulled me toward the container maze. We ran through shadows, our footsteps echoing off metal, the sirens growing louder. His car waited where he'd left it. We dove inside, and Mateo drove with controlled precision through the labyrinth of abandoned streets until we emerged onto the highway. I sat trembling in the passenger seat, adrenaline crashing through my system in waves. My hands wouldn't stop shaking. I pressed them between my knees and stared at the road ahead, unable to process what had just happened. "You saved my life," Mateo said finally, his voice quiet. "You would have figured it out. Maybe not." His hands tightened on the steering wheel. "But you shouldn't have been there. You shouldn't have risked yourself like that. Neither should you." He glanced at me, something unreadable in his expression. "It's different." "Why?" "Because you're the powerful one. Because I'm supposed to sit quietly while other people get hurt protecting me. Because I've chosen this life." He sounded tired, ancient. I knew what I was walking into. "You didn't sign up for gunfights and dead federal agents. I signed up the moment I pulled Nico out of that street." The words hung between us. Mateo was quiet for a long moment, navigating through traffic with automatic precision. "What Doyle said," I continued, "about looking at your own people. What did he mean?" "I don't know yet. But someone set this up. Someone who knew exactly how to manipulate both Enzo and me into this collision. Someone inside your organization." "Yes." My phone vibrated insistently. I'd turned it back on. 17 missed calls from Marcus. Multiple texts ranging from angry to panicked. I called him back. "Jesus Christ, Leah!" His voice exploded through the speaker. "Do you have any idea?" "I'm fine. We're both fine. We're coming back." "The hell you are. That safe house is compromised. Someone knew you were there. I found a tracker on Mateo's car. This whole thing was orchestrated." Mateo cursed. "How long has it been there?" "Can't tell for sure," Marcus said. "But my guess, since before you picked up Leah from her apartment, someone's been tracking every move." I felt cold. "Then they know about the safe house. They know where we've been, where we're going. Which is why you're not going back there," Marcus said. "I'm texting you new coordinates, different location, somewhere off the grid. Get there now and don't stop for anything." The call ended. Mateo's phone pinged with an address. He glanced at it and changed lanes, heading away from the city. "Where are we going?" I asked. "Somewhere even I don't own. A friend's place. Someone outside all of this. Can you trust them?" "I have to." We drove in silence for 20 minutes. The city gave way to suburbs, then to rural darkness. Finally, Mateo pulled down a gravel driveway that wound through dense trees until it opened onto a small cabin. Lights glowed in the windows. A figure stood on the porch, a woman, mid-50s, gray hair pulled back, holding a shotgun with comfortable familiarity. "That's Elena," Mateo said. "She's an old friend. Saved my life once. I've been saving hers ever since." We got out of the car. Elena lowered the shotgun when she recognized Mateo, but her eyes stayed sharp. "You look like hell," she said by way of greeting. "Feel like it too." Mateo gestured to me. "This is Leah. She needs somewhere safe." Elena's gaze assessed me with uncomfortable precision. "The waitress? You know about me? Mateo called 2 days ago, said he might need a favor." Elena stepped aside. "Come in, both of you. You look half dead." Inside, the cabin was small but warm. A wood stove burned in the corner, bookshelves lined the walls. It smelled like pine and coffee and safety. Elena poured whiskey into 2 glasses without asking. "Drink. Then tell me why you've brought war to my doorstep." Mateo drank. So did I. The whiskey burned, grounding. "Someone inside my organization is trying to destroy everything," Mateo said. "They've framed Leah, manipulated Enzo, murdered my accountant, and set up an ambush that left a federal agent dead. I don't know who, I don't know why, but they've been 3 steps ahead this entire time." Elena sat down heavily. "Then you need to go back to the beginning. Figure out who benefits from your fall. Who's been positioning themselves for power. I've been running that calculation for hours. And there's only one person with the access and motivation." Mateo's face was stone. "But if I'm right, it means someone I've trusted for 5 years has been planning this from the start." Before he could elaborate, his phone buzzed. He looked at the screen and went very still. "What is it?" I asked. He turned the phone toward me. An image filled the screen. A photograph of Nico asleep in his bed, taken through a window. Recent, tonight. Below it, a message. "You're looking in the wrong direction, Mateo. The threat isn't Enzo. It's not your accountant or corrupt agents. It's much, much closer. And now I have what matters most. You have 24 hours to figure out who I am, or your son disappears. No police, no tricks. Just you and Leah, figure it out together, or lose everything." The clock starts now. The photograph of Nico burned itself into my retinas, his small body curled under dinosaur sheets. The window behind him showing Connecticut darkness. The angle suggesting someone had stood outside for minutes, maybe hours, watching an 8-year-old boy sleep before deciding to weaponize that vulnerability. Mateo moved like something had broken inside him. He was on the phone before I could process what we'd seen. His voice transformed into something I'd never heard before. Not the controlled authority from the diner, not the measured calculation from the safe house. This was raw and jagged and barely human. "Angela," his sister's name, spoken like a prayer and a curse. "Check on Nico, right now. Don't argue, just go to his room and tell me he's there." I watched his face in the cabin's amber light, watched the seconds tick past while he waited, watched the muscle in his jaw jump with each heartbeat. Elena had gone very still in her chair, the shotgun now resting across her lap, her eyes tracking Mateo with the wariness of someone who'd seen powerful men shatter. "He's there." Mateo's exhale was visible, tangible relief flooding his features. "Don't let him out of your sight. Lock every door and window. I'm sending Marcus and 3 others. They'll be there in 40 minutes. No, I can't explain. Yes, I'm serious. Angela, please, just do exactly what I'm telling you." He ended the call and stood frozen, phone still pressed to his ear, staring at nothing. "He's safe," I said quietly. "They just took the photo. They didn't take him. This time," Mateo's voice was hollow. "This time they just took the photo. Who would do this? Who even knows where your sister lives? That's the problem. Only 5 people know that address. Me, Marcus, Tony, my lawyer, and my sister herself." Mateo finally moved. pacing the small cabin like a caged animal. Someone in my inner circle. Someone I've trusted with everything. Elena stood, pouring more whiskey. Then you strip it down. Trust no one until you know who's clean. That includes your bodyguards, your lawyers, everyone. I can't operate alone. Not with Enzo still moving pieces and this new player orchestrating everything. You're not alone. Elena's gaze slid to me. You have her. Both of them looked at me then. I felt the weight of their expectation like physical pressure. I'm not trained for this, I said. I'm a waitress. I don't know anything about investigations or conspiracies or... But you're outside it, Elena interrupted. You have no history with Matteo's organization, no allegiances, no predetermined loyalties. That makes you the only person in this room he can absolutely trust. The logic was sound and terrifying. I looked at Matteo, saw something in his expression that made my chest ache, desperation mixed with hope, the look of someone drowning who'd just been thrown a rope they weren't sure would hold. The message said we have 24 hours to figure out who's behind this, I said slowly. That we have to do it together. Why together? Because whoever this is wants to watch us unravel the mystery, Matteo said. Wants us to doubt everyone, wants me paranoid and isolated. Or, I said, thinking out loud, they want us to work together because the answer requires both of our perspectives. Something you can't see alone. Something I can't see alone. But together, we have the full picture. Matteo's eyes sharpened, focusing. You're right. This isn't just about watching us squirm. It's a puzzle designed for two people. Elena nodded approvingly. So start at the beginning. What connects Leah to all of this beyond saving Nico? Nothing, Matteo said immediately. She's completely separate from my business. Then why frame her specifically? Why go through the elaborate setup with Bruno and the false documents? Why not just threaten her directly? I felt something click in my mind. Because framing me does something that threatening me doesn't. It makes Matteo look guilty. Makes him look like he's been lying about going legitimate. If I'm on his payroll, if we have this whole secret relationship, then his entire transformation is a fraud, which destroys his credibility, Elena said. Makes law enforcement question everything, makes his legitimate business partners back away, and leaves a power vacuum, Matteo finished grimly. Someone's trying to dismantle my empire piece by piece, not through violence, but through strategic destruction of trust and legitimacy. Who benefits from that? I asked. Matteo was quiet for a long moment, something working behind his eyes. When he finally spoke, his voice carried the weight of a truth he didn't want to acknowledge. 3 people. His lawyer, David Reeves, handles all my legitimate contracts, knows every vulnerability in my business structure. My head of security, Marcus, controls access to me, knows my routines, my safe houses, everything. And Tony, my oldest friend, been with me for 15 years, knows where all the bodies are buried. Literally. The cabin felt colder. I wrapped my arms around myself. What about your accountant? Bruno? Before he died? Bruno was planted by someone. He didn't have enough independent knowledge to orchestrate this. He was a tool. Then we need to look at who had the power to plant him. Who recommended him for the position? Matteo's face changed. David, my lawyer. He said Bruno came highly recommended from a firm he trusted. Could David be compromised? David's been with me for 5 years. Built my entire legitimate operation. He has more to lose than anyone if I go down. Unless, I said carefully, he's built something separate. Something that would survive your fall. Or benefit from it. Matteo pulled out his phone and started scrolling through files with frantic energy. David's been pushing me to expand into real estate development. Said we could double our legitimate revenue in 2 years. I've been resistant because it would require significant capital investment and new partnerships. New partnerships he'd control? Yes. He'd be managing the relationships, the contracts, the financial structure. Matteo looked up, something dawning in his expression. If I went down for fraud and conspiracy, if my reputation was destroyed, those partnerships wouldn't go through. But if someone else took over the business, someone clean, someone respectable, like a lawyer who'd been positioned perfectly to step in and save the legitimate operations from the criminal founder, Elena finished, that's elegant. He builds your empire, waits for you to be fully invested, then burns you down and takes over the parts worth keeping. My mind raced. But that doesn't explain Marcus or Tony. One of them has to be involved to give away your sister's address, to plant the tracker on your car, to know your movements well enough to orchestrate everything. Marcus has been acting strange, Mateo admitted, asking questions about my succession plans, about what happens to the security contracts if something happens to me. And Tony? Tony's getting married next month. He asked me for a loan to buy a house. $50,000. I gave it to him, no questions asked. That's not a motive for betrayal, I said. That's loyalty being rewarded. Unless the wedding is more expensive than he's letting on. Unless he's in debt and someone offered him a way out. Mateo's voice was getting harder, colder. Or unless he's been planning his exit for years and this is his endgame. I watched something happen to him in real time. The paranoia Elena had warned about. The isolation creeping in. Every person he'd trusted becoming a suspect. Every act of loyalty now questionable. We can't do this, I said firmly. We can't just suspect everyone. That's exactly what whoever sent that photo wants. Then what do you suggest? Mateo's eyes met mine, and I saw the exhaustion there, the fear he was trying to control. We create rules, boundaries. We decide what we're willing to do and not do. Because if we lose ourselves in this, if we become as paranoid and suspicious as they want us to be, we've already lost. The words came from somewhere deeper than logic. From watching my mother die surrounded by doctors who stopped seeing her as human, just a collection of symptoms and treatments. From 3 years of being invisible in a diner, watching people forget that waitresses were complete human beings. From understanding that the moment you stopped seeing people clearly, you lost the ability to trust anything, including yourself. Mateo stared at me like I'd said something in a foreign language. Then, slowly, he nodded. Okay. Rules. What do you propose? First rule, we don't assume guilt. We look for evidence, not confirmation of suspicions. Second rule, we protect Nico above everything else. Whatever we do, his safety comes first. Third rule, we stay honest with each other. No strategic omissions, no protective lies. If we can't trust each other, this doesn't work. Agreed. Mateo's voice steadied. What's our next move? I thought about the photograph, the message, the 24-hour deadline. The person who sent that photo wants us to figure out who they are. That means they've left clues. Breadcrumbs we're supposed to follow. Or traps designed to look like clues. Maybe. But we have to assume they're playing fair within the rules of their game. Otherwise, why give us a chance at all? Elena had been quiet, listening. Now she spoke. The photo itself is a clue. They got close to Angela's house without being noticed. That requires knowledge of the security setup, the blind spots, the timing of patrols. Only Marcus and Tony know that level of detail, Mateo said. Then we talk to them, I said. Both of them. Together, so we can watch how they react to each other. That's dangerous. If one of them is the traitor, then we need to know now. Before the 24 hours are up and Nico becomes an actual target instead of just a photograph. Mateo looked at Elena. Some unspoken communication passed between them. She nodded once. Use the barn, Elena said. It's soundproof. Private. I'll keep watch. Mateo made 2 calls. Brief, cryptic, coordinates, but no explanations. Then we waited. Marcus arrived first, 30 minutes later. He looked exhausted, wired. His usual composure frayed at the edges. His eyes found me immediately. You're insane, he said without preamble. Running into that warehouse. You know that, right? Absolutely insane. I know. Good. As long as we're clear. He turned to Mateo. What's the emergency? Why are we meeting out here in the middle of nowhere? We'll explain when Tony arrives. Tony? Marcus's expression shifted. Why Tony? Because I asked him to come. Something passed across Marcus's face too quickly to read. Before he could respond, headlights appeared down the driveway. Tony's truck, moving fast, throwing gravel. He emerged already tense, hand resting near his concealed weapon. This better be good, Tony said. I left my fiancé in the middle of dinner. It's good, Mateo said flatly. Barn. Now, both of you. We walked through cold darkness to the structure behind Elena's cabin. Inside, the barn was exactly as she'd described, converted into a workshop, tools hanging on walls, a space heater throwing inadequate warmth. Mateo positioned himself where he could watch both men. I stood slightly behind him, out of the direct line of tension, but close enough to observe. "Someone photographed my son tonight," Mateo said without preamble, through his bedroom window. "At my sister's house in Connecticut. The house only 5 people know about." The words landed like grenades. Marcus went very still. Tony's hand dropped from his weapon. "Nico's okay?" Marcus asked. "For now." "Who else knows the address?" Tony demanded. "You two, David Reeves, Angela, and me." "Jesus." Tony's face drained of color. "You think one of us?" "I think someone very close to me has been orchestrating everything. The framing of Leah, Bruno's murder, Doyle's setup, all of it. And now they've made it personal." Marcus and Tony looked at each other. I watched the exchange carefully. Nothing about it felt calculated. It felt like 2 men who'd worked together for years, confronting an impossible betrayal. "It's not me," Marcus said quietly. "I swear on everything. It's not me." "Me neither," Tony said. "But if it's not us, then it's David," I said. "Or someone working with one of you without your knowledge." Both men turned to look at me like they'd forgotten I was there. "Who are you again?" Tony asked, not unkindly. "The waitress everyone's trying to destroy to get to Mateo." "Right, the one who saved Nico." Tony's expression softened slightly. "Thank you for that, by the way. Kid's a good kid." The gratitude felt genuine. I filed it away. "David's been pushing hard on the real estate expansion," Marcus said slowly. "Harder than made sense. Got frustrated when Mateo kept delaying decisions. Did he ever contact either of you directly?" I asked. "Ask questions about Mateo's routine, his family." Marcus shook his head. Tony hesitated. "What?" Mateo's voice sharpened. "He asked me about Angela once," Tony admitted. "Maybe 3 months ago. Said he needed to update emergency contact information, asked where she lived. I didn't think anything of it at the time." "You gave him the address?" "I gave him the town. Not the specific address." Tony looked sick. "I swear, I didn't give him the actual address. But if he had the town, he could find the house," I said. "Property records? School district information? A competent investigator could narrow it down in a few hours." Mateo pulled out his phone and dialed. "David, it's me. I need you at Elena's property. Now." "No, I can't explain over the phone." "Yes, it's an emergency. You have the coordinates. 1 hour." He ended the call and looked at the 3 of us. "We have 1 hour to figure out how we're going to handle this. If David is behind everything, confronting him directly is dangerous. If he's innocent, we've just revealed our location to the real traitor. Then we test him," I said. "We give him information that's slightly wrong. See if it gets used against us." "What kind of information?" I thought fast. "Tell him we've figured out who the traitor is, that we have evidence. Watch how he reacts. If he's guilty, he'll either run or try to control the situation. If he's innocent, he'll want to help." "That's risky," Marcus said. "If he's guilty and armed." "Then we're all armed too," Tony interrupted. "And we have numbers." Mateo considered this, then nodded. "We do it, but carefully. No one moves unless I give the signal." The next hour felt like drowning in slow motion. We positioned ourselves strategically around the barn. Marcus near the entrance, Tony by the side door, Mateo in the center where David would naturally look, me in the shadows where I could observe without being the focus. When headlights finally appeared, my heart was trying to break through my ribs. David Reeves entered the barn looking every inch the successful lawyer. Cashmere coat, designer glasses, carrying a leather briefcase like he'd come from the office despite the late hour. He was younger than I'd expected, maybe 40, with the kind of calculated charisma that made juries trust him. Mateo. His voice carried concern and confusion in equal measure. "What's going on? Why are we meeting like this?" "We have a problem," Mateo said. "Someone very close to me has been trying to destroy everything I've built. Someone who knows details about my family, my business, my movements." David set his briefcase down slowly. "Do you know who?" "We have strong evidence pointing to someone in my inner circle." "Who?" Mateo let the question hang. "Watching. I watched too. cataloging every micro-expression, every shift in David's body language. "It's not me," David said finally. "Whatever you're thinking, whatever evidence you have, it's not me. I haven't accused you of anything. You didn't have to." David's voice hardened. "You call me out to the middle of nowhere, surround me with your security team, and tell me someone close to you is a traitor. The implication is pretty clear." "Then help us figure out who it actually is," I said from the shadows. David spun toward my voice. His eyes found me, and something flickered there. Recognition, calculation, it passed too quickly. "You must be Leah," he said. "I've heard a lot about you." "From who?" "From the documents Bruno created. The false trail connecting you to Matteo's organization." He smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. "Excellent fabrication work. Almost fooled me." "Almost?" "I know Matteo. He doesn't mix personal and professional. If you were really on his payroll, he'd never have let it show on paper." The logic made sense. Too much sense, like he'd prepared the answer. "Someone gave Bruno the information to build those documents," Matteo said. "Someone with access to my real financial records. Someone who could make the forgeries convincing." That someone wasn't me. David's posture shifted, becoming defensive. "I've dedicated 5 years to cleaning up your empire, making it legitimate. Legal. Why would I destroy that work? Because legitimate operations are worth more without me attached to them," I said quietly. "Because a clean lawyer taking over a business empire from a disgraced mafia boss is a better story than gradual transformation." The words hit their target. David's face changed, shock giving way to something colder. "That's ridiculous," he said, but his voice lacked conviction. "Is it?" I stepped forward into the light. "You've built the infrastructure, established the partnerships, done all the work to make Matteo's empire valuable and legal. But as long as he's attached to it, there's always the taint of his past, the suspicion, the questions. Remove him, and suddenly you're the hero who saved legitimate businesses from criminal association. You've been reading too many thrillers," David said. But he was sweating now despite the cold. Matteo pulled out his phone and showed David the photograph of Nico. "Someone took this tonight. Someone who knew exactly where my sister lives. A location I've shared with exactly 4 people." David stared at the photo. Something in his expression crumbled. "Oh God," he whispered. "Nico, is he... He's fine, for now. This wasn't supposed to." David caught himself. Stopped. The silence that followed was deafening. "Wasn't supposed to what?" Matteo's voice could have cut glass. David closed his eyes. When he opened them, they held something that might have been regret, or might have been calculation. I couldn't tell which. "I didn't want children involved," he said quietly. "That was never part of the plan." "What plan?" "Tell me about the plan, David." "I can't. If I tell you, he'll..." David's phone buzzed. He pulled it out with shaking hands. His face went white as he read the message. Then he turned the phone toward us. On the screen was a video, playing automatically, showing a woman, David's wife, I realized from the wedding ring visible on her hand, tied to a chair in what looked like a basement. A figure stood behind her, face obscured by shadows, and pressed against her temple was a gun. Below the video, a message. "Tell them nothing, or she dies. You have 30 seconds to make your choice. The lawyer's integrity or the lawyer's wife. Choose wisely." The video played on a loop in my mind even after David's phone went dark. His wife's eyes, wide and terrified, searching the camera for salvation that wouldn't come. The gun against her temple, steady and patient. The shadowed figure behind her, orchestrating fear with the precision of someone who'd done this before. 30 seconds had passed. Then a minute, no gunshot, no follow-up message, just silence that felt like a blade pressed against all our throats. David stood frozen in the barn's cold light, phone trembling in his hands like a live grenade. His breath came in shallow gasps, the kind that preceded either violence or collapse. I recognized that sound, had heard it in my own chest 4 nights ago when fear stopped being theoretical and became the only reality that mattered. "Where is she?" Matteo's voice cut through the paralysis. "Where's your wife right now? Where's she supposed to be?" "Home." David's voice broke on the word. "She was home. Book club on Tuesdays. She hosts it. They were supposed to..." He couldn't finish. the present tense dying as reality caught up. Call the book club, Marcus said, already moving. Confirm if she was there. When she left, who saw her last? David dialed with shaking fingers. We listened to the one-sided conversation, halting questions, desperate politeness, the moment when his face changed and we knew the answer before he spoke it. She never showed up, he whispered. They thought she'd canceled. Got a text from her number 2 hours ago saying she was sick. Show me the text, Mateo demanded. David pulled it up. Standard message, nothing suspicious except the timing. 2 hours ago, right when Mateo had been walking into the warehouse ambush. While I'd been hiding behind shipping containers making catastrophically stupid decisions. While David had been wherever lawyers go when their carefully constructed plans start disintegrating. This whole thing is coordinated, Tony said. Every move timed to keep us reactive instead of proactive. We're being played. No. I heard myself speak, the pieces clicking together with terrible clarity. We're being tested. This isn't about winning. It's about forcing choices. Everyone turned to look at me. I felt the weight of their attention, their desperation for answers I wasn't sure I had. The message gave David 30 seconds to choose. I continued, thinking out loud. But they didn't kill her when the time expired. That means the choice wasn't really about silence. It was about revealing David's complicity, proving he knew something worth threatening his wife over. So they have what they wanted, Elena said from the doorway where she'd been standing guard. They have confirmation David's involved. Now what? Now they wait for us to tear ourselves apart, Mateo said grimly. David becomes a liability. We start questioning whether to trust him, whether to help him, whether his wife's life is worth the information he's hiding. It is. David's voice cracked with anguish. Whatever you need to know, I'll tell you. Just help me get Sarah back. Please. The plea hung in the frigid air. I watched Mateo's face, saw the calculation happening behind his eyes. The same calculation I was running. Could we trust a man who'd admitted being part of a plan to destroy us? Could we afford not to, if it meant saving an innocent woman and getting closer to whoever was orchestrating this nightmare? Start talking, Mateo said. Everything. From the beginning, David sank onto a hay bale like his legs had given out. When he spoke, his voice carried the hollow quality of confession. It started 6 months ago. A man approached me at a legal conference in Boston, called himself James Mitchell, said he represented a consortium of investors interested in acquiring legitimate businesses with growth potential. He knew everything about your operations, Mateo. The shipping company, the real estate holdings, the charitable foundation. He said his clients wanted to make an offer, but they needed assurance the business wasn't tainted by your past. Let me guess, Marcus said. He suggested ways to separate you from your own empire. He called it creating distance for everyone's protection. David's hands clenched. Said if something happened to expose your past connections, the legitimate businesses needed to be insulated, protected. I told him you'd already done that work, that everything was clean. But he said perception mattered more than reality, that as long as your name was attached, there would always be suspicion. So you agreed to help frame me. No, not at first. I refused. But then he sent me documents, photographs, evidence of transactions from 8 years ago, before I started working for you. Things that could destroy my legal license, ruin my career. He said the evidence would disappear if I cooperated, that no one would get hurt. It was just about creating the appearance of impropriety so his clients could acquire the businesses at a reduced valuation. You believed him? I couldn't keep the disbelief from my voice. David looked at me with eyes that had aged a decade in the last hour. I wanted to believe him, because the alternative was losing everything I'd built. My career, my reputation, Sarah's respect. So I told myself this was just business, strategic repositioning, that Mateo was wealthy enough to survive, that legitimate operations would continue under new management, that I was protecting something valuable from unnecessary scrutiny. Noble, Tony muttered. Real heroic. I know. David's voice dropped to barely audible. I know what I am, what I've done, but I never intended for it to go this far. The plan was supposed to be contained. Documents. Perception management, not murder, not targeting innocent people, not Sarah. What changed? Mateo asked. Bruno. When he turned up dead, I knew James Mitchell wasn't who he claimed to be, that this wasn't about business acquisition. I tried to back out, told Mitchell I was done, that I'd go to the police, that I'd confess everything. He laughed, said I was already too deep, that every communication I'd had with him was documented, that I'd helped plant Bruno, that my fingerprints were all over the conspiracy. He said if I tried to walk away, he'd make sure I went down for all of it. But you kept working for Mateo, Marcus said. Kept pretending everything was normal. Because I thought if I could figure out who Mitchell really was, I could fix this. Could find evidence that would expose him instead of me. David pulled out his phone again, navigating to a folder of files. I've been investigating him for 3 weeks, trying to trace his communications, his financial transfers, his real identity. But he's a ghost, untraceable. Every lead goes nowhere. Mateo took the phone, scrolling through David's research. I moved closer, reading over his shoulder. Bank accounts that closed immediately after transactions. Email addresses that bounced. Phone numbers registered to dead people. Whoever James Mitchell really was, he'd constructed an identity designed to evaporate under scrutiny. What about the consortium he claimed to represent? I asked. Doesn't exist. At least not in any legal registry I can find. The company names he mentioned are shells, empty structures with no real operations. So this entire thing is a lie, Elena said. The business acquisition story was just cover for something else entirely. But cover for what? Tony asked. If this isn't about taking over Mateo's legitimate businesses, what's the end game? I thought about the photograph of Nico, the video of Sarah, the elaborate construction of threats and evidence and moral dilemmas, the 24-hour deadline to figure out the mastermind's identity. Revenge, I said quietly. This is about revenge. Everyone looked at me. Think about it. They're not trying to steal anything or gain control of anything. They're systematically destroying everything Mateo values. His reputation, his relationships, his sense of security. They're making him watch as people around him get hurt or corrupted or killed. This isn't business, it's personal. Mateo's face had gone very still. You're right. But revenge for what? Who have I hurt badly enough to warrant this level of orchestration? Someone with resources and patience, Marcus said. Someone who's been planning this for months, maybe years. Someone who knows you well enough to anticipate your moves. Make a list, Elena suggested. Everyone you've ever crossed. Every enemy, every rival, every person who might want you destroyed. That list is too long, Mateo said flatly. 20 years in this life creates a lot of grievances. Then narrow it. I was pacing now, unable to stay still. Who would target Nico specifically? Who would know that threatening your son is the one thing guaranteed to break you? The question landed like a physical blow. Mateo's expression shifted, and I saw something there I hadn't seen before. Old pain, carefully buried, rising to the surface. There's only one person, he said slowly. But it's impossible. He's been dead for 5 years. Who? David asked. My brother. Mateo's voice was hollow. Vincent Carbone. He died in prison. Heart attack. I saw the death certificate. Attended the funeral. The barn went silent except for wind rattling the walls. Tell us about Vincent, I said gently. Mateo looked at me, and I saw the cost of the memory in his eyes. But he started talking, and once he started, the words came like water breaking through a dam. Vincent was my older brother. Raised me after our parents died. Taught me everything about this life. How to read people, how to leverage power, how to survive in a world that wanted to grind us into nothing. He was brilliant, ruthless. The kind of person who saw 10 moves ahead and positioned everyone like chess pieces. What happened to him? Marcus asked quietly. He wanted to expand into territories controlled by the Valente family, Enzo's father, specifically. I told him it was a bad move, that we'd overextend, that we'd provoke a war we couldn't win. He called me weak, said I'd lost my nerve, went ahead anyway. Mateo's hands clenched. Enzo's father was smarter than Vincent anticipated. He had federal agents in his pocket. They built a case against Vincent for racketeering, murder, conspiracy. 20 years of evidence, all carefully documented. Vincent went to trial. I testified. The last sentence hung heavy. You testified against your own brother? Tony's voice carried no judgment, just surprise. I testified about what I knew. The truth. That Vincent had ordered hits, moved drugs, corrupted officials. I thought if I cooperated, if I gave the prosecutors what they wanted, they'd show leniency. That Vincent would get 15 years instead of life, that he'd survive long enough to get out and rebuild. But that's not what happened, I said. The judge gave him life without parole, and Vincent blamed me, said I'd betrayed him to save myself, that I'd chosen the easy path over family loyalty. The last thing he said before they took him away was that he'd make me understand what real betrayal felt like, that he'd take everything from me the way I'd taken everything from him. And 5 years ago, he died in prison, Marcus said. Heart attack. You're sure? I saw the body, closed casket funeral, but I demanded to see him before they sealed it. It was Vincent. No question. Unless, David said slowly, someone switched the body after you viewed it. Before the cremation. Mateo stared at him. That's insane. You'd need access to the prison morgue, cooperation from multiple officials, medical examiners willing to falsify documents. All things that money and connections can buy. Elena interrupted. Especially if someone's been planning an escape for years. Vincent didn't have that kind of money in prison. Everything was seized during his trial. But he had something more valuable than money, I said, pieces clicking together. He had information, leverage, secrets about people in power. What if he traded that information for his freedom? What if someone powerful enough helped him fake his death in exchange for what he knew? The implications spread through the barn like poison gas. If Vincent's alive, Tony said carefully, if he's been free for 5 years, planning this, then we're not dealing with some hired mastermind, Marcus finished. We're dealing with someone who knows Mateo better than anyone alive. Someone who's had 5 years to study, prepare, and position every piece for maximum devastation. David's phone buzzed. We all jumped. He looked at the screen, and his face went gray. It's a video call, from Sarah's phone. Answer it, Mateo said. Put it on speaker. David's thumb shook as he accepted the call. The screen filled with Sarah's tear-streaked face, still tied to the chair, still with a gun pressed to her temple. But now the figure behind her had moved into frame enough that we could see more details. Expensive suit, strong build, a ring on his left hand that caught the light. When the figure spoke, his voice was cultured, amused, and utterly devoid of mercy. Hello, little brother. Did you miss me? Mateo's reaction was instantaneous and visceral. He staggered backward like he'd been shot, his face draining of color, his breath coming in ragged gasps. I'd never seen him lose control, never seen the armor crack this completely. Vincent, he whispered, you're dead. I saw you dead. You saw what I wanted you to see. The voice on the phone was conversational, almost friendly. Did you really think I'd let you bury me in a 6x8 cell for the rest of my life? That I'd accept your betrayal and just fade away? I didn't betray you. I told the truth. You chose their justice over family loyalty. You put me in that cage. And every day for 5 years, I've been planning how to return the favor. Vincent's face moved partially into frame, and I understood why Mateo had staggered. The resemblance was striking. Same bone structure, same eyes, same bearing. But where Mateo carried controlled authority, Vincent radiated calculated cruelty. This was a man who'd spent 5 years sharpening his hate into something precise and surgical. Let Sarah go, Mateo said, his voice steadier now. She's innocent. This is between us. Nothing is between just us. Vincent's smile was terrible. Everyone you care about is involved. Everyone who gives your life meaning. I'm going to take them all, one by one, and make you watch. Make you understand what it feels like to lose everything while being powerless to stop it. What do you want? I want you to solve my puzzle. 24 hours to figure out who's been orchestrating your destruction. You've already wasted 8 of those hours, by the way. 16 left. Find me, brother. Find me before the clock runs out, or Sarah dies. Then Nico. Then everyone else in your pathetic attempt at redemption. Where are you? Close. Closer than you think. I've been watching this whole time. Watching you scramble. Watching you suspect your own people. Watching you finally start to understand that you're not as smart as you thought. That going legitimate didn't make you safe. It just made you soft. The call ended abruptly. David immediately tried calling back. No answer. Just Sarah's phone going straight to voicemail. "He's alive," Mateo said to no one in particular. All this time, Vincent's been alive. I moved to him without thinking, placed my hand on his arm. He flinched at the contact, then looked down at me like he'd forgotten I was there. "We'll find him," I said with more confidence than I felt. "We have 16 hours. We know who we're looking for now. That's an advantage. You don't understand." Mateo's voice was raw. "Vincent is better at this than I am. Better at strategy, manipulation, long-term planning. If he's had 5 years to prepare, then we use that against him." I squeezed his arm, trying to anchor him. "Pride. He wants you to know how clever he is. That's a weakness. He's showing off, which means he's left traces. Clues we can follow." "Leah's right," Marcus said. "The video call was unnecessary. He could have just let the clock run down, but he wanted you to know it was him. Wanted the satisfaction of revealing himself. He also made a mistake," David added, pulling himself together. "The video showed Sarah's location. I know that basement. That's my house. My basement. He's holding her in our own home." Tony was already moving toward the door. "Then we go there now. Extract her. End this." "No." Elena's voice stopped him. "That's what he wants. He's expecting you to rush in. Probably has the place rigged, trapped, or under surveillance. You go in blind. You're walking into another ambush. So what do we do?" David's voice cracked. "My wife is in our basement with your psychotic brother. Every minute we wait..." "We think," Mateo interrupted, forcing control back into his voice. "Vincent wants me scattered and reactive, so I need to be the opposite. Calm, strategic, thinking 3 moves ahead like he taught me." He pulled out his phone and started making notes, his hands steadier now that he had a focus. Vincent needed help faking his death. Medical records, death certificates, body disposal. That requires inside access to the prison system. "David, can you pull records of everyone who worked at the prison when Vincent was there? Guards, medical staff, administrators?" "I can try. But that was 5 years ago. People move, retire, disappear. Do it anyway. Cross-reference with anyone who came into significant money in the last 5 years. Unexplained wealth often means payoffs. On it." David was already typing. "Marcus, Tony, I need you to surveil David's house. Don't engage, just watch. Map every entrance, every window, every possible exit. Look for security systems, cameras, anything that tells us how Vincent's set up." "What if Sarah's visible?" Tony asked. "What if we can see her and confirm she's still alive? Then you confirm and report back. Nothing else. We move when we're ready, not before." Mateo turned to me, and I saw something in his expression that made my breath catch. "Trust, complete and absolute trust. I need you to do something harder than any of them," he said quietly. "What?" "I need you to help me think like Vincent. You're outside all of this. You don't have history or assumptions clouding your judgment. If you were planning this revenge, if you'd spent 5 years orchestrating someone's destruction, how would you structure the endgame?" The question was enormous and terrifying, but I understood what he was asking. Be the perspective he couldn't achieve alone. Be the clarity his emotional proximity prevented. "Give me everything," I said. "Every detail about Vincent you can remember. How he thinks, what he values, what makes him feel powerful. I need to understand him to anticipate him." Mateo nodded. We moved to a corner of the barn while the others dispersed to their tasks. And there, in the cold and the dark, Mateo started talking about his brother. About the boy who'd protected him from bullies and the man who'd taught him to be a monster. About love twisted into mentorship, twisted into betrayal. About the moment he'd chosen justice over loyalty and everything that choice had cost. I listened with every part of myself, absorbing not just the words but the emotion beneath them, the guilt, the grief, the terrible understanding that we become ourselves by destroying the people who made us. And somewhere in that confession, I realized what Vincent had missed in his careful planning, what his hate had blinded him to. Mateo wasn't the same person who'd testified 5 years ago. He'd transformed, grown, built something new from the ruins of what he'd been. Vincent was fighting a ghost, a version of his brother that no longer existed. But explaining that to a man consumed by 5 years of carefully cultivated revenge, that was going to require more than logic. It was going to require something I wasn't sure any of us had left. Before I could voice this realization, Mateo's phone rang. Unknown number. He answered on speaker. Vincent's voice filled the barn, smooth and mocking. "Tick-tock, little brother. 14 hours left. I thought I'd give you a hint, since you seem to be struggling. The answer to where I am isn't in the past. It's in the place you think is safest. The place you believe I could never touch. Sleep well, Mateo, or don't. Either way, someone you love dies tomorrow." The line went dead, and in the silence that followed, I understood with terrible certainty what Vincent meant. The place Mateo thought was safest. The place Vincent could never touch. "He's going after Nico," I whispered. "He's already there, at your sister's house. That's where he is." The drive to Connecticut happened in a kind of suspended terror where every second felt both infinite and desperately insufficient. Mateo pushed his car past every reasonable speed limit, the engine's roar a soundtrack to the panic we were all drowning in, but refusing to name. Marcus sat in the passenger seat coordinating with the security team already stationed at Angela's house, his voice a steady monotone that barely concealed the fear underneath. Tony followed in his truck with David, who'd insisted on coming despite having his own wife held hostage because, as he'd said with surprising steel, he'd already failed everyone once and refused to do it again. I sat in the back watching the dark landscape blur past, my mind racing through everything we knew and everything we didn't. Vincent was alive. Vincent had orchestrated this entire nightmare. Vincent was going after Nico because that was the one thing guaranteed to destroy Mateo more completely than any business loss or reputation damage ever could. But something about the timing bothered me. Something about Vincent's reveal felt wrong, like we were being herded toward a specific conclusion without seeing the full board. "He wants us at Angela's house," I said, breaking the heavy silence. "That's why he told you where he'd be, why he made it obvious." "Of course he does," Mateo said tightly, his knuckles white on the steering wheel. "He wants me to watch him hurt Nico, wants me powerless while he takes the one thing I can't lose." "No." I leaned forward between the seats. "Think about what he said. The place you think is safest. The place you believe he could never touch. What if Angela's house isn't actually where he is? What if he's somewhere else entirely? And he's using our fear about Nico to pull us away from the real target?" Marcus turned to look at me. "What real target?" "Sarah. She's still at David's house. We've been so focused on the threat to Nico that we've forgotten Vincent already has a hostage. What if the point isn't to hurt Nico at all? What if the point is to make us abandon Sarah while we rush to protect a child who's already safe?" Mateo's foot eased slightly off the accelerator. I could see him processing, running the calculations Vincent had taught him decades ago. The art of misdirection. The strategy of making your opponent see the threat they expected rather than the threat you'd actually prepared. "Marcus, status on Angela's house?" Marcus checked his tablet. "Security team confirms no breaches. All entry points secured. Angela and Nico are in the safe room we installed last year. Biometric locks, reinforced walls, they're not going anywhere, and nothing's getting in without us knowing." "And they visually confirmed both of them?" I pressed. "Not just voices over the intercom, but actual eyes-on confirmation?" There was a pause while Marcus relayed the question. Then his expression changed. "They can see Angela through the safe room camera, but Nico's in the bathroom. They heard him but haven't had visual confirmation in the last 20 minutes. The car swerved as Mateo took an exit too fast. "Get them to check. Now. Eyes on Nico, or I'm assuming the worst." We listened to Marcus urgently coordinating with the team. Seconds stretched into small eternities. The car ate up highway, taking us closer to Connecticut, closer to whatever trap Vincent had constructed. My heart hammered against my ribs so hard I thought it might crack through. "They have visual," Marcus said finally, relief flooding his voice. "Nico's fine. He was reading in the bathroom. Angela confirms he hasn't left her sight except for bathroom breaks, and those are timed. He's safe." The tension in the car didn't decrease. It shifted, reformed into something more complex. "Then where's Vincent?" Tony's voice crackled through the phone Marcus had on speaker. "If he's not at Angela's, if Nico's secure, where is he actually waiting?" "David's house," I said with growing certainty. "He's been there the whole time. With Sarah. He knew we'd figure out it was him, knew we'd panic about Nico and split our focus. While half of us rushed to Connecticut to confirm a child is safe, Vincent's got a clear field to do whatever he's planning at the actual location. But why? David's voice was ragged. Why take Sarah? Why make this about my wife when the real revenge should be against Mateo's family? Because, Mateo said slowly, understanding dawning, Vincent knows the worst revenge isn't taking what I love. It's making me responsible for taking what someone else loves. Making me choose. Making me complicit. The full picture crystallized with horrible clarity. Vincent wasn't trying to hurt Nico directly. He was creating a scenario where Mateo would have to choose: rush to protect his son from a phantom threat, or stay and try to save Sarah. Either choice made Mateo responsible for whoever died as a result. Either choice proved Vincent's central thesis that Mateo's betrayal 5 years ago was the same kind of impossible choice, and now he'd understand how it felt. We split up, Marcus said. Tony and I continue to Connecticut, verify Nico's secure. Mateo and Leah go to David's house. No, Mateo said. If I show up, Vincent wins. He gets the confrontation he wants, the moment of triumph. We need to do what he's not expecting. Which is what? I asked. Mateo's eyes met mine in the rearview mirror. You go in, alone. The suggestion landed like a physical blow. That's insane. It's the only move he won't anticipate. Vincent's entire plan is built around me. My reactions, my choices, my guilt. But you're not part of that history. You're the variable he didn't account for. I'm a waitress, not a hostage negotiator. I have no training, no experience. You have something better. You have no stake in the past, no history Vincent can leverage, and you have what every good negotiator needs: the ability to see people clearly without your own trauma clouding the picture. I wanted to argue, wanted to explain all the ways this could go catastrophically wrong, but I looked at Mateo's face, the desperate hope mixed with terrible guilt at what he was asking, and understood something fundamental. He wasn't just asking me to save Sarah. He was asking me to save him from having to choose, to take the weight of this impossible decision off his shoulders, because he'd been carrying it for 5 years and it was killing him. What do I say to him? I asked quietly. The truth. That he's won. That I'm destroyed. That nothing I've built matters if it costs innocent people their lives. Tell him I'll give him whatever he wants. Surrender. Public confession. My life for Sarah's. Whatever ends this. He won't believe me. He will if you believe it. Mateo's voice cracked slightly. And right now, part of me does believe it. Part of me thinks Vincent's right. That I don't deserve the redemption I've been trying to build. That everything I touch gets corrupted or destroyed. I reached forward and grabbed his shoulder. Hard, making him feel the contact through the expensive fabric. That's exactly the lie Vincent wants you to believe, I said fiercely. That's the prison he's trying to lock you in. But it's not true. You're not the same person who testified 5 years ago. You've transformed, grown, built something real. Vincent can't see that because he's been frozen in hate while you've been learning to be human. Mateo's hand came up to cover mine. The touch was brief but electric, desperate and grateful in equal measure. If you do this, he said, if you go in there, you follow your instincts. If something feels wrong, you run. You don't try to be a hero. You don't sacrifice yourself for Sarah or for me or for some idea of justice. You survive. Promise me. I promise. Say it like you mean it. I squeezed his shoulder again. I promise I will survive. I'm not interested in martyrdom. I'm interested in making sure we all walk out of this alive so Vincent can see that his 5 years of hate accomplished nothing except proving he's smaller than the brother he thinks betrayed him. The words seemed to anchor something in Mateo. He nodded once, then started making calls, coordinating with Marcus and Tony, rerouting to David's house, explaining the plan in terse, clinical language that masked the emotional devastation underneath. We arrived at David's neighborhood 40 minutes later. Quiet suburban streets, houses with dark windows and sleeping families. The kind of place where horror seemed impossible until it was happening in your own basement. Mateo parked 3 blocks away. We sat in the dark car, engine ticking as it cooled, both of us aware this might be the last quiet moment before everything shattered. Vincent will try to manipulate you, Mateo said. He's brilliant at finding what people fear and using it as leverage. Don't let him in your head. What does he fear? I asked. Everyone's afraid of something. Mateo thought about that. Being forgotten. Being irrelevant. Vincent's entire sense of self is built on being the smartest person in the room, the one pulling strings while everyone else dances. If you can make him feel ordinary, unremarkable, just another angry man who wasted years on revenge that changed nothing, that might unbalance him. Okay. I opened the car door before I could overthink this. How do I contact you if things go wrong? You'll be wearing this. Marcus handed me a small device that looked like a button. It's a microphone and tracker. We'll hear everything. If you say the word memory, we come in immediately. Otherwise, we hold position and listen. I pinned the device to my collar. Tested it. Marcus's voice came through the earbud he'd given me, loud and clear. You're not alone in this. But walking up David's driveway in the pre-dawn darkness, I felt profoundly alone. The house looked peaceful. Porch light on, welcome mat slightly askew. Nothing suggesting the violence contained within. I knocked on the door. No answer. Knocked again, harder. Vincent, I called out. My name is Leah Souza. Mateo sent me to talk. I'm unarmed. I'm alone. I'm opening the door and coming inside. The front door was unlocked. The first red flag. The second was the silence. Houses where people are held hostage shouldn't be this quiet. The third was the smell. Copper and something chemical. Bleach, maybe. Or fear sweat. I'm in the foyer, I said for the microphone, for Marcus and Mateo listening. No sign of anyone yet, moving toward the basement stairs. The house was too clean, too sterile. Like someone had scrubbed away evidence or prepared a stage. I descended the basement stairs slowly, every muscle tense to run. The basement was finished. Carpet, drywall, recessed lighting that made everything look simultaneously normal and nightmarish. And there, in the center, was the chair from the video. But Sarah wasn't in it. Instead, a laptop sat on the chair, screen glowing. As I approached, it chimed with an incoming video call. I accepted it. Vincent's face filled the screen. In person, or as close to it as video allowed, the resemblance to Mateo was even more striking. But where Mateo had learned to soften his edges, Vincent was all sharp angles and calculated cruelty. Leah Souza, he said, my name rolling off his tongue like he was tasting it. The waitress who saved my nephew. The woman who somehow convinced my brother to send a civilian into a hostage situation. You must be either very brave or very stupid. Neither. Just someone who's tired of watching people get hurt because two brothers can't figure out how to talk to each other. Vincent's smile was chilling. Oh, she has opinions. How refreshing. Tell me, Leah, did my brother explain what he did to me? How he put me in a cage for life? How he chose the law's idea of justice over family loyalty? He testified about what you'd done, about people you'd killed. That's not betrayal. That's being honest about who you'd become, who I'd become. Vincent leaned forward, his face filling the screen. I became exactly what our world required, what our father would have wanted. Mateo was always too soft, too concerned with morality and consequences. I taught him how to survive, and he repaid me by destroying everything. You're still alive, still free. Looks like his testimony didn't destroy you at all, just inconvenienced you for 5 years. The observation landed. Vincent's expression flickered. Annoyance mixed with something else. Surprise, maybe. Where's Sarah? I asked. Where's David's wife? Safe. For now. Vincent gestured to something off screen. She's sleeping upstairs, sedated but unharmed. I'm not a monster, despite what my brother told you. Then why the video? Why make David think you'd kill her? Because fear is more useful than violence. Violence ends things. Fear extends them, makes people desperate, makes them make mistakes. Vincent studied me through the screen. You're calmer than I expected. Most people would be terrified right now. I've been terrified for days. It gets exhausting. Eventually, you just want resolution. Resolution. Vincent seemed to taste the word. Is that what Mateo wants? Resolution? Or does he want absolution? I think he wants his brother back. The one who existed before hate consumed everything else. The words hung in the digital space between us. Vincent's expression hardened. That brother is dead, died in a cage where your hero put him. What exists now is what prison creates. Something harder, sharper, more focused. 5 years of nothing but time to think, to plan, to understand exactly how to dismantle everything Mateo built on the foundation of my incarceration. Except you're not dismantling anything, I said. You're proving his point, that violence and revenge are dead ends, that the only way forward is transformation. Mateo chose growth over loyalty to who you used to be, and it's killing you that it worked, that he's actually happy, actually building something real while you've been frozen in the past. Vincent's hand slammed on whatever surface he was sitting at. The sound made me jump despite my determination to stay calm. Happy? You think he's happy? He sent you, a civilian, someone he's known for weeks, into a hostage situation rather than come himself. That's not happiness, that's cowardice. No, I said quietly, that's trust. He trusts me to do what he can't, to see clearly where his guilt blinds him. You wanted him isolated and paranoid, suspecting everyone. Instead, he found someone outside his world who chose to stand with him anyway. That's the variable you didn't plan for. Me. For the first time, Vincent looked genuinely unsettled. He studied me through the screen with new intensity. What are you to him? Really. Not just the woman who saved Nico. Something more. The question was more complicated than Vincent knew. More complicated than I'd admitted to myself during the chaos of the last few days. What was I to Mateo? Someone who'd stumbled into his life through an accident of kindness. Someone who'd been weaponized against him. Someone who'd chosen, again and again, to stand in the fire rather than run to safety. I'm someone who sees him, I said finally. Not the reputation or the past or the carefully constructed persona. Just the person underneath. The father who loves his son. The man trying desperately to be better than what he was raised to be. The human being who made an impossible choice 5 years ago and has been carrying the weight of it ever since. Vincent was silent for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice carried something I hadn't heard before. Uncertainty. He doesn't deserve that kind of loyalty. Not from you, not from anyone. Maybe not. But I'm giving it anyway. Because that's what transformation requires. People willing to believe in the person you're becoming rather than judging you for who you were. Pretty speech, Vincent said, his voice hardening again. But it changes nothing. Mateo made his choice 5 years ago. Now he lives with the consequences. What consequences, specifically? I asked. Sarah's alive and safe. Nico's protected. Your elaborate revenge plot has done nothing except prove you're still capable of orchestrating fear. But you haven't actually taken anything from him that matters. Haven't I? Vincent's smile returned, cold and calculated. I've taken his sense of security. His belief that going legitimate protects the people he loves. His confidence that the past stays buried. Those things matter more than you realize. They matter to someone trapped in the past. To someone who's moved forward, they're just reminders of why change was necessary. I was pushing him, intentionally prodding the ego Mateo said was Vincent's weakness. Watching for the moment when pride overwhelmed strategy. You think you understand me? Vincent said. You think you can psychoanalyze me with your waitress wisdom and somehow make me see reason. But you're missing the fundamental truth. I don't want Mateo's redemption. I want his destruction. I want him to know what it feels like to lose everything while being powerless to prevent it. Then you've already failed, I said quietly. Because Mateo's already felt that. Every day for 5 years. He's carried the guilt of your imprisonment like a stone in his chest. Your absence has haunted him more effectively than your presence ever could. This elaborate revenge, it's redundant. You already destroyed him the moment the prison doors closed. The truth of it seemed to hit Vincent physically. His expression shifted through a rapid sequence. Rage, denial, reluctant understanding. You're lying, he said, but without conviction. Ask him yourself. He's listening to this entire conversation. Mateo, I said, speaking to my microphone, tell your brother the truth. Tell him what these 5 years have cost you. There was a pause. Then Mateo's voice filled the basement through the laptop's speakers. Vincent must have been transmitting on an open channel. She's right, Mateo said, his voice raw. You won, Vincent. Not today. Not with this elaborate trap. 5 years ago. The moment I testified, the moment I watched them take you away, I lost something essential. The brother who raised me, the person I thought I understood. I I've spent 5 years trying to build something that would make sense of that loss, trying to transform the guilt into purpose. But nothing works. Nothing fills the space where you used to be. Vincent's face on screen was a mask of conflicting emotions. You're trying to manipulate me, make me feel sympathy for the person who betrayed me. I'm telling you the truth, Mateo said. The truth you demanded. That everything I've built is ash in my mouth because it's built on your absence. That going legitimate didn't make me clean. It just made me lonely. That every time I look at Nico, I see what I took from you. The chance to know your nephew, to be part of his life, to be more than a cautionary tale about what happens when pride eclipses survival. The confession was devastating in its honesty. I watched Vincent's face and saw the armor crack. Saw the brother underneath the monster, the man underneath the hate. If you wanted resolution, I said gently, this is it. Two brothers who destroyed each other trying to survive different versions of hell. No winners, no justice. Just two people who need to figure out if the past matters more than the present. The past is all that matters, Vincent said. But his voice had lost its edge. The past is what made us. The past made you, I corrected. The present is what you're choosing to become. Every moment you spend in revenge is a moment you're not spending building something real. Something that might actually matter when you're dying alone in another cage. This time, one you've built yourself out of hate and wasted years. Vincent stared at me through the screen. In the silence, I heard what sounded like footsteps upstairs. Sarah, maybe, waking from sedation, or law enforcement, or another trap within the trap. Where are you? I asked Vincent. Actually physically right now? Close, he said. Closer than you think. Watching this whole time. Then come downstairs. Face me in person. Face Mateo. Because this video call strategy is just another cage, another layer of distance. If you want real resolution, it requires real presence. It was a gamble. A massive, potentially catastrophic gamble. But I'd learned something in the last few days about fear. Sometimes the only way through it was straight into its teeth. Why would I do that? Vincent asked. Why would I give up tactical advantage? Because you're bored, I said, reading him the way I'd learned to read difficult customers at the diner, finding the thing underneath the anger that they wouldn't admit. Because 5 years of planning perfect revenge has felt empty now that you're actually executing it. Because winning against a brother who's already destroyed by guilt doesn't taste like victory. It tastes like ash. And you're starting to realize that all this time, all this planning, has brought you exactly nowhere worth being. The screen went black. Vincent had ended the call. For 10 seconds, nothing happened. Then I heard it. Footsteps on the basement stairs. Slow, deliberate. The walk of someone who'd made a decision they couldn't reverse. Vincent appeared at the bottom of the stairs, and seeing him in 3 dimensions was like watching Mateo's ghost. Same height, same build, same eyes. But where Mateo had learned softness, Vincent was a blade that had never been sheathed. We stood there, 3 feet apart, 2 people who'd never met but who'd been orbiting each other through violence and circumstance. You have a remarkable amount of courage for someone with no training, Vincent said. It's not courage. It's exhaustion. I'm tired of watching people suffer because of choices made years before I even knew any of you existed. So you thought you'd fix it? Play therapist to 2 brothers with decades of history? No. I thought I'd offer something neither of you seem capable of giving yourselves. Perspective. Vincent moved closer. Not threatening, just present. I held my ground despite every instinct screaming to back away. What happens now? He asked. In your scenario where everyone transforms and the past magically stops mattering? In my scenario, you make a choice. Keep playing this out, hurt more people, prove your point about betrayal and revenge. Or put down the hate you've been carrying and figure out if there's anything left of the brother who loved Mateo enough to raise him when your parents died. You're asking me to forgive him. I'm asking you to stop punishing yourself by punishing him. Because that's what this really is. You're not just angry at Mateo. You're furious at yourself for becoming someone he couldn't defend. For crossing lines that made his testimony inevitable. For proving that everything you'd built was exactly as corrupt and destructive as the law said it was. The observation landed like a physical blow. Vincent actually staggered back a step. You don't know me, he said, but without conviction. I know people. I've spent 3 years reading them while refilling their coffee. You're angry, yes. But underneath that, you're heartbroken. Because the brother you loved chose principle over loyalty, and part of you knows he made the right choice even though it destroyed you both. Vincent's phone buzzed. He looked at it, and his expression changed completely. Whatever message he'd received had shifted everything. It seems, he said slowly, that federal agents are surrounding this house. Your boyfriend's backup plan, I assume. He's not my boyfriend. And yes, probably. I'm not the only one who can think tactically. They'll arrest me. I'll go back to prison. Real prison this time. Not the faked death scenario. Probably. Unless you surrender. Cooperate. Give them what they want about how you escaped. Who helped you? What you've been doing for 5 years. That might buy you reduced charges. A second chance at transformation instead of more years in a cage. Vincent looked at me with something approaching wonder. You actually believe that? That people can change? That the past doesn't define everything? I have to believe it. Otherwise, what's the point? Footsteps thundered overhead. Federal agents breaching the front door. Time collapsing into the moment before everything would change. Vincent pulled something from his jacket. For one terrible second, I thought it was a weapon. But it was a phone. He held it out to me. Video files. Everything I have on Enzo. On the corrupt agents. On everyone involved in this nightmare. Give it to Mateo. Tell him it's my way of saying I heard him. That his 5 years of guilt weren't wasted. That somewhere underneath all this hate, the brother who raised him still exists. Barely. But still there. I took the phone as heavy footsteps started down the basement stairs. Federal agents in tactical gear, weapons drawn, shouting commands. Vincent raised his hands slowly, carefully, making himself unthreatening. And as they moved to restrain him, his eyes found mine one last time. Tell my brother, he said, that I'm proud of him, for surviving what I taught him, for becoming something better than what we were. And tell him I'm sorry it took me 5 years, and this catastrophe to figure out that revenge is just grief with teeth. They took him away. Up the stairs, out of the basement, out of the elaborate trap he'd constructed that had somehow transformed into confession. I stood alone in the silent basement, holding the phone that contained evidence of corruption and conspiracy, holding proof that even a man consumed by 5 years of hate could choose, at the last possible moment, something other than destruction. Mateo appeared at the bottom of the stairs. For a moment, we just looked at each other. Two people who'd survived something neither of us fully understood yet. You did it, he said quietly. You saved Sarah. Stopped Vincent. Gave him something I couldn't. What's that? Permission to be human again. I walked to him, closed the distance, and did something I'd been wanting to do since the diner. I hugged him, just wrapped my arms around this powerful, dangerous, heartbroken man, and held him while he shook with emotion he'd been holding back for days. Your brother said to tell you he's proud of you, I whispered, and that he's sorry. Mateo's arms came around me, holding on like I was the only solid thing in a disintegrating world. We stood there while federal agents processed the scene above us, while Sarah was checked by paramedics, while the machinery of law and consequence ground forward. Two people who'd found each other through violence and fear, but who'd somehow ended up here, in this basement, holding something fragile and new. When we finally pulled apart, Mateo cupped my face in his hands, his thumbs brushing away tears I hadn't realized I was crying. I need to ask you something, he said. Okay. When this is over, when the investigations are done and the trials are finished and everything settles, will you let me take you to dinner? A real dinner. No guns, no conspiracies. Just two people trying to figure out what they mean to each other. I smiled despite everything. That depends. On what? On whether you're asking me because you feel obligated to the woman who helped save your family, or because you actually want to know who I am beyond the crisis. I already know who you are beyond the crisis, Mateo said. You're the woman who sees clearly when everyone else is blind, who chooses courage over safety, who believes people can transform even when they've given up on themselves. And I'd like the chance to let you see me too, the real me, not the man in the expensive suit or the former criminal or the redemption project, just Mateo, the person I'm trying to become. Before I could answer, Marcus appeared at the top of the stairs. Boss, we have a problem. The words dropped like stones. Mateo released me, his expression shifting back to controlled authority. What kind of problem? Enzo Valente. He's gone. His operations collapsed. Every property, every business empty. It's like he vanished completely, and he left something for you. A message. Marcus descended and handed Matteo a manila envelope. Inside was a single photograph. Nico's school, taken this morning, based on the timestamp, and written across it in red marker. Vincent was never the real threat. He was just the distraction. Now that he's gone, let's play the actual game. You have something I want, I have something you need. Tomorrow at noon. Come alone. Or the school becomes a tragedy. E. The photograph of Nico's school burned into my retinas the way trauma does. Not as a memory, but as a permanent scar on how I'd see the world from now on. We stood in David's basement, surrounded by federal agents cataloging evidence. And all I could think about was an 8-year-old boy with a dinosaur backpack who thought he might be a demigod, sitting in a classroom completely unaware that he'd become a target again. Matteo's face had gone to that place beyond fear, the cold, calculated space where emotion becomes tactical. I'd seen it before, in the warehouse, but this was different. This was a father processing that his child's safety had never actually been guaranteed, that Vincent's capture hadn't ended anything, that the nightmare had simply changed shape. We need to evacuate the school, Marcus said, already on his phone. Get Nico out. Put him somewhere Enzo can't possibly reach. No. Matteo's voice was flat. Final. That's what Enzo wants. Panic. Chaos. Proof that he controls the situation. We evacuate. He knows we're scared. He knows his leverage works. But if we don't, Tony argued, having appeared with David in tow, we're gambling with a child's life. Your child's life. I'm gambling with it either way. Matteo stared at the photograph like he could divine answers from the pixels. Enzo's message says tomorrow at noon. That gives us 20 hours to figure out what he actually wants and how to give it to him without surrendering leverage. What could you possibly have that Enzo Valente wants badly enough to threaten a school? David looked hollowed out, like the last few hours had aged him decades. Sarah was upstairs being treated by paramedics, sedation wearing off but memory intact. She'd have her own trauma to process once the immediate crisis passed. Information, I said quietly. Everyone turned to look at me. Vincent gave us his phone. Everything he collected on Enzo, all on corrupt agents, on the entire criminal network. That's what Enzo wants. The evidence that could destroy him? Matteo pulled Vincent's phone from his pocket, the device suddenly heavy with implications. You're right. Vincent spent 5 years building a case, not for justice, for leverage. And now that leverage is in my hands. So we give it to him, Tony said. Trade the phone for Nico's safety. Except Enzo won't honor that deal, Marcus countered. The moment he has the phone, he has no reason to keep any of us alive. We become liabilities instead of negotiating partners. The federal agents were listening now, their evidence collection slowing as they tuned into our conversation. A woman in her 40s approached. Agent Sarah Chen. Her badge identified her. The one Matteo had mentioned before as someone who couldn't be bought. Mr. Carbone, she said, her voice carrying authority and unexpected sympathy. I've been investigating Enzo Valente for 3 years. If you have evidence on him, it needs to be turned over to federal custody. Not used as a bargaining chip with a terrorist. He's threatening a school full of children, Matteo said. That makes this my call, not yours. It makes this a federal case involving domestic terrorism. You're a civilian. Let us handle this. With respect, Agent Chen, your agency had corrupt agents feeding Enzo information for years. How do I know you're not one of them? How do I know that the moment I hand over Vincent's phone, it doesn't disappear into evidence and somehow end up in Enzo's hands anyway? Sarah Chen's expression tightened, but she didn't argue. The accusation had landed because it was plausible. Corruption had roots that went deep and wide, and trust was a commodity none of us could afford. Then we work together, she said finally. You have evidence I need. I have resources you need. We coordinate, share information, operate as partners rather than adversaries. Partners, Matteo repeated, testing the word like it might be poisonous. What would that look like, practically? It looks like you give me access to Vincent's phone. Let my technical team extract and analyze the data. In exchange, I dedicate federal resources to protecting your son and resolving this situation with minimal casualties. And if your team is compromised, if someone on your side tips off Enzo, then I'll have failed. Sarah's honesty was brutal and refreshing. But right now, operating alone is guaranteed failure. Enzo has resources, manpower, connections. You have money and loyalty. But that's not enough against someone who's been building his empire for 30 years. You need what I can provide: legal authority, tactical expertise, and a team that's already investigated every corner of Enzo's operation. I watched Matteo calculate, saw the moment when pride gave way to pragmatism. He handed her the phone. "Full transparency," he said. "Everything you find, I see. Every decision about strategy, I'm consulted. This partnership works both ways, or it doesn't work at all." Agreed. Sarah took the phone like it was evidence in a trial that could change everything. "I'll have preliminary analysis in 6 hours. Full breakdown in 12. That gives us 8 hours before Enzo's deadline to formulate a response." She walked away, already delegating to her team. The basement emptied gradually as agents finished their work, leaving Matteo, Marcus, Tony, David, and me standing in the space where Vincent's elaborate revenge had culminated in unexpected redemption. "I need to see Nico," Matteo said. "Need to know he's actually safe with my own eyes, not just through security reports." "That's what Enzo wants," Marcus warned. "You leave secure location, you're vulnerable, exposed. I don't care." Matteo's voice cracked slightly. "I'm not negotiating with terrorists while my son thinks I'm too busy to visit. I'm going to Connecticut. I'm having breakfast with Nico. I'm being his father for 2 hours before I have to be the man who makes impossible choices." No one argued. How could they? We'd all watched him hold together through Vincent's return, through federal raids, through revelations that would have shattered lesser people. If he needed this, needed normalcy with his son before walking back into darkness, we'd make it happen. "I'm coming with you," I said. "Leah." "I'm coming with you," I repeated, firmer this time. "You asked me to stand beside you, not above you. That means I don't abandon you before the hard parts. That means I show up for breakfast with an 8-year-old who deserves to meet the woman his father trusts enough to send into basements with his psychotic brother." Something in Matteo's expression softened. Not surrender, but acceptance. Maybe even gratitude. "Okay, but we bring security. Marcus, Tony, you're with us. David, you stay here with Sarah. Make sure she's stable. Make sure the agents know to protect her if this goes sideways." David nodded, already moving toward the stairs where his wife was. We followed Marcus to the cars, and for the second time that night, I found myself being driven through darkness toward an uncertain confrontation. But this time felt different. This time, we weren't rushing toward danger. We were seeking something worth protecting, a child who represented everything good that could grow from the ruins of violence. A chance for Matteo to remember why transformation mattered more than revenge. The drive to Connecticut happened in stages. First the city, then suburbs, then the quiet neighborhoods where families slept behind locked doors believing safety was guaranteed. Angela's house appeared as dawn broke, a colonial with a security system that would make government facilities jealous, courtesy of Matteo's paranoia and infinite resources. Angela met us at the door. She was smaller than I'd imagined, late 30s, with Matteo's eyes and a fierceness that suggested she'd protected her brother long before he'd learned to protect himself. She assessed me in 3 seconds, and I felt the weight of her judgment. "You're Leah," she said. Not a question. Yes, the one who saved my son, and then walked into multiple life-threatening situations because my idiot brother asked you to. That's an accurate summary. Angela smiled, and the resemblance to Matteo became striking. Good. Nico's been asking about you for months, ever since Matteo let it slip that he'd found the nice lady from the crosswalk. You being here will mean more to him than you know. She led us inside. The house smelled like coffee and pancakes. Deliberately normal, I realized. Angela was creating an island of routine in the chaos, giving Nico something stable to hold on to. Nico appeared at the top of the stairs, and my breath caught. He'd grown since March, lost some of the baby roundness in his face, gained confidence in how he carried himself. But the eyes were the same, curious, intelligent, holding depths that 8-year-olds shouldn't have access to yet. Dad. He launched himself down the stairs and into Mateo's arms with the uncomplicated joy only children manage. Mateo caught him, held him tight enough that I saw Nico wince slightly, and I understood. This was a man memorizing how his son felt in case he didn't get another chance. "Hey, buddy." Mateo's voice was thick. "Missed you. Missed you too. You look tired. Are you sleeping okay?" The concern in Nico's voice broke something in me. This child worried about his father while armed security patrolled outside his window. This child had grown up too fast in ways that would mark him forever. "I'm sleeping fine, just been busy." Mateo set Nico down and gestured to me. "There's someone I want you to meet. Someone who's been very important to me recently." Nico turned, and recognition bloomed across his face. "You're her, the lady from the street, the one who grabbed me." "That's me." I knelt to his level. "Your dad told me you like Percy Jackson." "I love Percy Jackson. Did you read it? Do you think the movies are good?" "Most people say the books are better, but I kind of liked the second movie even though it changed a lot of stuff." The words tumbled out in that stream of consciousness way kids have when they find someone who shares their interests. I listened, asked questions, let Nico lead the conversation while Mateo watched with an expression I couldn't fully decode. Gratitude mixed with something more complicated. Hope, maybe, or fear that this moment of normalcy was temporary. Angela made pancakes. We sat around the kitchen table like a real family, albeit one with armed security outside and federal investigations swirling around us. Nico talked about school, about the history project he was working on about ancient Greece, about how his friend Jamie thought being a demigod would be cool, but Nico thought it would be mostly exhausting because monsters never left you alone. "Kind of like real life," I said without thinking. Nico looked at me with sudden seriousness. "Do you have monsters chasing you?" The question caught everyone off guard. Mateo tensed. Angela stopped mid-pancake flip. Marcus, standing guard by the window, shifted slightly. "Sometimes," I said honestly, "but I have people who help me fight them, like your dad." "Dad's good at fighting monsters," Nico said with complete confidence. "He doesn't like to, but he's good at it when he has to be." The observation was more insightful than an 8-year-old should manage. Mateo met my eyes across the table, and something passed between us. Understanding, maybe. Recognition that we were both trying to protect this child from truths he'd somehow already intuited. After breakfast, Nico showed me his room, walls covered with drawings of mythological creatures, books stacked everywhere, a space that felt safe and imaginative, and exactly what childhood should be before the world teaches you about violence and corruption and impossible choices. "Are you my dad's girlfriend?" Nico asked with the casual directness of childhood. "I'm his friend," I said carefully. "A good friend. Someone who cares about him very much. But do you like him? Or just friend like him?" I sat on Nico's bed, surrounded by dinosaur sheets, and considered how to answer honestly without creating expectations I couldn't guarantee. "I think your dad is one of the most remarkable people I've ever met. He's brave and smart and trying really hard to be the best version of himself. That's worth more than liking someone. That's worth respecting them." "But you do like him," Nico insisted. "I can tell. You look at him the way people look at each other in movies before they kiss." Heat flooded my face. "You're very observant. Aunt Angela says I notice things other people miss. Is that bad?" "No, that's a gift. Just means you have to be careful how you use it. Understanding people is powerful. You can help them or hurt them with what you see. Choose helping." Nico nodded solemnly, like I'd given him classified information. Then he pulled something from under his pillow, the drawing of Cerberus he'd made months ago. "I wanted to give this to you back then, when Dad found you. But he said you were busy and I shouldn't bother you. You could never bother me." I took the drawing, feeling the weight of it. "Thank you. I'll keep this somewhere safe. Do you think I'll see you again? After today?" The question hit harder than expected. Because I didn't know. Didn't know if Mateo and I would survive whatever confrontation Enzo had planned. Didn't know if the fragile thing building between us could withstand the aftermath of trauma and federal investigations and the weight of everything we'd been through. "I hope so," I said honestly. "I really hope so." Mateo appeared in the doorway. "Time to go. Time Time to leave this island of normalcy and return to the world where schools got threatened and evidence needed protecting and lunch meetings with mobsters could determine who lived and who died. Nico hugged me goodbye, his small arms surprisingly strong. "Take care of my dad," he whispered. "He tries to be tough, but he gets scared sometimes. I can tell. I will. I promised. And you take care of yourself. Keep reading. Keep noticing things. Keep being exactly who you are." The drive back to the city was silent. Mateo stared out the window, processing. I gave him space, understanding that seeing Nico had cost something, had reminded him of everything at stake. "Thank you," he said finally, "for being kind to him, for seeing him as a person, not just a complication in this mess. He's remarkable. You're raising someone who's going to change the world, or save it, possibly both. If I don't get him killed first." The bitterness in his voice was sharp enough to cut. I reached across the seat and took his hand. He gripped it like a lifeline. "You won't, we won't, because we're smarter than Enzo, more motivated, and we have something he doesn't." "What's that?" "People who actually care whether we live or die. Enzo has employees and assets. You have family. That's the difference that matters." We arrived back at Elena's cabin to find Agent Sarah Chen waiting with her team. She'd set up a mobile command center in the barn, computers, screens showing surveillance feeds, agents coordinating in efficient silence. "The phone Vincent gave you is a treasure trove," Sarah said without preamble. "Offshore accounts, shell corporations, communication logs with dirty cops and judges, video evidence of bribes and beatings. Your brother spent 5 years building a case that could dismantle organized crime in 3 boroughs." "Can you use it?" Mateo asked. "Most of it, yes. Some will need to verify independently since Vincent's methods weren't exactly legal. But combined with what we already have, this ends Enzo. Completely. He goes to prison for the rest of his life. Unless he gets the phone back," Marcus said. "Which is why we're not bringing the actual device to tomorrow's meeting." Sarah pulled out an identical phone. "This is a duplicate. Loaded with just enough real information to pass a cursory check, but missing the most damaging evidence. We trade this. Enzo thinks he's won. Then we arrest him the moment the transaction completes. He'll have backup," Tony warned. "Armed, dangerous. This could turn into a bloodbath. Which is why we're coordinating with SWAT, snipers, tactical response teams. We go in with overwhelming force. Enzo won't have time to retaliate." The plan sounded good, too good. I felt unease crawling up my spine but couldn't articulate why. "What does Enzo actually want?" I asked. "I mean fundamentally. Why does he care about Vincent's evidence now? He's been operating successfully for decades. What changed?" Sarah pulled up a file. 3 weeks ago, Enzo's daughter died. Overdose. Pills cut with fentanyl from a supplier Enzo himself used. She was 19. Art student. By all accounts, completely uninvolved in her father's business. The information landed heavy. Grief explained things rage couldn't. Explained why Enzo had suddenly escalated, why he was making reckless moves, why he didn't seem to care about long-term consequences. "He's not trying to protect his empire," I said slowly. "He's trying to burn it down, take everyone with him, revenge against the world that took his daughter, which makes him even more dangerous," Sarah agreed. "Someone with nothing to lose is unpredictable, uncontrollable. Then we give him something to lose," Mateo said. "Something he values more than revenge." "Like what?" Marcus asked. "Truth." Mateo was thinking out loud now, pieces clicking together. Enzo's daughter died because of drugs from his own supply chain. Because he built an empire on poison and eventually it touched someone he loved. He can't face that. Can't admit his life's work killed his child. So he's externalizing, blaming me, blaming Vincent, blaming anyone except the system he created. "So we make him face it," I said, understanding. "We don't just give him the phone, we make him understand what's actually on it. Show him evidence of every death his operation caused, every overdose, every family destroyed, every child who didn't make it home. Make him see his daughter's face in all of them." "That's cruel," Tony said quietly. "It's honest," I corrected. "And sometimes honesty is the only thing that breaks through denial." Sarah was nodding. "It could work. If we frame this right, not as a negotiation but as a reckoning, we might get Enzo to surrender rather than fight. might save lives. Or it might make him execute everyone in that school just to prove he still has power, David said, having returned from settling Sarah. We're gambling with children's lives. We're gambling either way, Mateo said. At least this gives us a chance at resolution that doesn't involve body bags. The debate continued for hours. Strategy, positioning, communication protocols. Federal agents coordinated with Mateo's security. Elena provided local intelligence about locations Enzo might use. We built a plan that felt simultaneously comprehensive and impossibly fragile. At some point, exhaustion caught up with me. I found myself in Elena's guest room, lying on top of the covers, staring at the ceiling. My phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. You've been brave. Braver than you knew you could be. Tomorrow we'll test that courage one more time. Remember, the best way to disarm an enemy is to see them clearly. Not as a monster, as a broken person making terrible choices. Be Vincent. Somehow messaging from federal custody. Somehow still trying to help the brother he'd spent 5 years trying to destroy. The contradiction was dizzying. Another message appeared immediately after. Also tell Mateo I left something for Nico in my apartment. Key is taped under the mailbox. It's a first edition of The Lightning Thief, signed by Rick Riordan. I bought it years ago, before prison, planning to give it to him for his 10th birthday. He should have it now, just in case. The vulnerability in the message, the acknowledgement that tomorrow might be the last chance for gestures that mattered, made my throat tight. I got up, found Mateo in the kitchen making coffee at 2 a.m. because sleep was impossible when everything hung in balance. Vincent sent messages, I said, showing him the phone. Mateo read them, his expression cycling through emotions too complex to name. He's trying to make amends. Trying to be the brother he was before hate consumed everything else. Do you think it's real, or manipulation? With Vincent, probably both. He loved me and hated me in equal measure. That doesn't just disappear because he got caught. The book for Nico. Should we get it? Tomorrow, after this ends, if we're still alive. Mateo set his coffee down and turned to face me fully. Leah, if this goes wrong tomorrow, it won't. If it does, if something happens to me, I need you to promise you'll make sure Nico's okay, that Angela has resources, that Vincent's evidence gets used the right way. Stop. Promise me. No. I moved closer, close enough to feel his warmth. I'm not promising to handle your aftermath because we're both walking out of tomorrow alive. We're both seeing this through. We're both keeping our promises to have that dinner where we figure out what we mean to each other. I'm not accepting a reality where you don't survive. Mateo cupped my face like he had in the basement, his touch gentle despite the calluses on his palms. You're remarkable. You know that. I'm terrified, but I'm choosing to act anyway. That's not remarkable. That's just being human. It's both. He kissed me then, soft and tentative, and nothing like I'd imagined in the rare moments I'd let myself imagine it. His lips tasted like coffee and exhaustion and hope struggling against impossible odds. I kissed him back, pouring into the contact everything I couldn't articulate, the fear, the determination, the dawning realization that I'd somehow fallen for this broken, brilliant man who was trying so desperately to protect everyone except himself. We broke apart slowly. Mateo rested his forehead against mine, both of us breathing hard. When this is over, he whispered. Really over. I'm taking you somewhere far from all of this, somewhere quiet, where the only thing we have to think about is whether to order dessert. I'd like that. It's a promise. Then keep it. We both have to keep it. Morning came too fast. Agent Chen coordinated final preparations. Mateo dressed in one of his perfect suits, armor for the confrontation ahead. I wore jeans and the jacket I'd worn that first night at the diner, needing something familiar to ground me. The location Enzo had specified was an abandoned pier, exposed, difficult to secure, perfect for a man who wanted maximum drama for his final act. We arrived at 11:30. Federal agents were positioned everywhere, rooftops, warehouses, inside containers that looked abandoned but housed tactical teams. The plan was sound. The execution depended on variables we couldn't control. Enzo arrived exactly at noon in a black SUV with tinted windows. He emerged alone, which immediately felt wrong. Men like Enzo didn't operate without backup unless they had something else planned. He walked to the designated meeting point, and I saw what grief had done to him. He'd aged a decade in 3 weeks. The expensive suit couldn't hide the hollowness, the way he moved like a man already dead who just hadn't stopped breathing yet. Matteo stepped forward. I stayed 3 paces behind as planned. Close enough to observe, but far enough to not provoke. Carbone, Enzo said. His voice was rough. Destroyed. You brought my phone. I brought a phone, Matteo said. Whether it's yours depends on what you're offering in exchange. I'm offering not to burn down a school full of children. That seems like fair trade. Except you're not going to burn down anything. You're going to take this phone. Verify it's what you want. Then you're going to surrender to Agent Chen and her team, because we both know this doesn't end any other way. Enzo laughed, bitter and broken. Surrender? To spend the rest of my life in a cage like your brother? Like Vincent, who's probably already making deals to reduce his sentence. Vincent's cooperating, helping dismantle the corruption that let him escape in the first place. He's choosing redemption over revenge. You could do the same. Redemption. Enzo spat the word. My daughter's dead because of redemption. Because I tried to go legitimate, tried to clean up my operations, told my suppliers to cut the fentanyl, to make the product safer. They ignored me, sent poisoned pills to rich kids who thought they were buying safe party drugs. And my daughter, my Isabella, she died choking on her own vomit because I wasn't ruthless enough to control my own supply chain. The confession hung in the salt air. I saw Sarah Chen signal her teams to hold position. This moment mattered more than the arrest. So you blame yourself? I said, stepping forward despite the plan saying I'd stay back. You blame yourself, and you can't live with that, so you're burning everything down, but it won't bring her back. It'll just add more bodies to the pile, more parents who'll know what you're feeling. Enzo's eyes found me. Who are you? Someone who understands grief. My mother died 3 years ago. Cancer. And for months after, I wanted to hurt everyone who was still healthy, still whole. Wanted the world to feel as broken as I did, but destroying things didn't heal anything. It just made the emptiness echo louder. Your mother died of cancer. Natural causes. My daughter died because I built an empire on poison. There's a difference. The grief is the same. The guilt is the same. The question is whether you use it to destroy or to build something that honors who they were. Enzo pulled a gun. Fast. Trained. The weapon aimed at my chest before anyone could react. You don't talk about my daughter, he said quietly. You don't compare your sanitized grief to what I'm feeling. Matteo moved between us instantly, blocking Enzo's line of fire with his own body. Lower the weapon. This doesn't end that way. It ends however I say it ends, Enzo said. I have 16 pounds of C4 wired to the support beams of this pier. I have a dead man's switch in my pocket. You try to arrest me, everyone on this pier dies. You give me the phone and let me walk away, you live. Choose. The world contracted to this moment. Federal agents had weapons trained on Enzo from every direction, but they couldn't shoot without triggering the dead man's switch. We were locked in a standoff where the only winning move was somehow convincing a suicidal man that life was worth continuing. The phone has evidence of everyone who failed your daughter, I said, keeping my voice steady. Every supplier who cut corners, every distributor who ignored safety protocols, every person who valued profit over lives. But it also has something else. Video footage from the night she died. Security camera from the club where she bought the pills. You can see her, Enzo, see Isabella in her last hours, happy, dancing, alive. Is that how you want to remember her? Or do you want the last image to be this pier exploding because you couldn't find a reason to keep breathing? Enzo's hand shook. The gun wavered. You're lying, there's no video. Vincent was thorough. He documented everything, including evidence that could give you closure, could show you exactly who sold her the pills that killed her, give you a target for your rage that actually deserves it. I was making it up as I went, gambling that Vincent's obsessive documentation might include something close to what I was describing. Gambling that the possibility of seeing his daughter one more time would outweigh the death wish currently controlling Enzo's actions. Show me, Enzo said. Prove it. Matteo pulled out the phone. Sarah Chen had loaded it with real files to make the deception convincing. Matteo scrolled, searching, and there, buried in surveillance footage Vincent had collected, was a clip from a club, dated 3 weeks ago. And in the corner of the frame, A young woman with dark hair and a smile that could have lit cities. Isabella. Matteo held the phone where Enzo could see. We watched the grief transform his face, the hate giving way to something more human, more broken. He reached for the phone with his free hand, the gun in the other dropping slightly. That's when everything went wrong. A shot rang out from somewhere behind us. Not from federal agents, from someone else, someone we hadn't accounted for. The bullet hit Enzo in the shoulder, spinning him backward. His finger convulsed on the dead man's switch, and the world exploded. The explosion was supposed to kill us. That's what I understood in the fraction of a second between the gunshot and the world turning into fire and sound. Enzo's finger had convulsed on the dead man's switch, and 16 pounds of C4 wired beneath the pier should have vaporized everything within a 100-foot radius. But it didn't. The charges failed. Dud detonators or faulty wiring or some miracle of incompetence that left us standing in smoke and confusion instead of scattered across the harbor in pieces too small to identify? My ears rang. My lungs burned. Matteo had thrown himself over me when the first charge sparked, his body a shield I hadn't asked for but desperately needed. We untangled slowly, checking for damage. Bruises? Burns? Nothing catastrophic. Around us, federal agents swarmed Enzo, who lay bleeding from the shoulder wound. His face a mask of stunned disbelief that his final act of destruction had somehow misfired. Who took the shot? Sarah Chen was screaming into her radio. Which position fired? I want confirmation now. But no one claimed it. Every federal sniper reported holding fire, which meant someone else had been positioned with a clear line of sight, waiting for the exact moment to intervene. Marcus appeared through the smoke, weapon drawn, scanning for threats. Behind him, Vincent Carbone walked with his hands raised, flanked by two federal marshals who looked simultaneously confused and alert. He insisted on coming, Marcus said to Matteo. Said he had information that couldn't wait. We were en route when we heard the situation escalating. Vincent's eyes found his brother across the chaos. The charges were sabotaged. I made sure of it. Called in favors from people Enzo trusted. Had them replace the detonators 2 nights ago. I couldn't let you die proving a point to a dead man's ghost. The confession hung in the salt air. Matteo stared at his brother, the man who'd spent 5 years plotting revenge, who'd orchestrated elaborate destruction, who'd somehow, in the final moment, chosen salvation over vengeance. You saved us, Matteo said quietly. I saved myself. Vincent's voice carried exhaustion that went bone deep. By saving you. Turns out redemption is contagious. You infected me with it. Sarah Chen coordinated her teams while paramedics attended to Enzo. The mobster who'd wanted to burn the world down was being loaded into an ambulance, sedated and defeated. His empire had collapsed. His daughter was gone. His final act of rage had failed because even his own people had abandoned him. It's over, Sarah said, approaching us once the scene was secure. Vincent's cooperation, combined with Enzo's capture and the evidence we've gathered, dismantles organized crime operations across 3 boroughs. This is the kind of case that defines careers, changes cities. What happens to Vincent? I asked. He'll serve time. Reduced sentence for cooperation, but prison nonetheless. What he did, faking his death, escaping custody, orchestrating this elaborate revenge, those have consequences. But he'll survive. And maybe, when he gets out in 10 or 15 years, he'll be someone different than who went in. Vincent met my eyes. Take care of my brother. He's terrible at taking care of himself. I know. I've noticed. And tell Nico, Vincent's voice cracked slightly. Tell him his uncle isn't a complete monster. That I tried, at the end, to be something better. I'll tell him you loved him enough to choose his father's life over your revenge. That's not nothing. The marshals led Vincent away. Matteo watched his brother disappear into federal custody for the second time, but this time the expression on his face wasn't guilt. It was something more complex. Peace, maybe, or the beginning of it. We gave statements to federal agents, answered questions until our voices went hoarse, watched the sun set over a city that had no idea how close it had come to catastrophe. By the time Sarah Chen released us, it was past midnight, and exhaustion had settled into my bones like concrete. I need to see Nico, Matteo said. Need to hold him. Need to know this is really finished. Angela had taken Nico to a safe house in upstate New York, far enough from the city that threats couldn't reach him, close enough that Mateo could drive there in 2 hours. We made the trip in silence, both of us processing everything that had happened, everything that had changed. Nico was asleep when we arrived, curled under blankets in a room that smelled like pine and safety. Mateo stood in the doorway for a long time, just watching his son breathe, memorizing the rise and fall of his small chest. I didn't know if I'd see him again, Mateo whispered. Didn't know if my choices would cost him everything. But they didn't. You made impossible decisions, and everyone you love survived. That's not luck. That's you being exactly who you fought so hard to become. Angela appeared behind us, her expression carrying relief and exhaustion in equal measure. He asked about you every hour. Wanted to know if you were okay. If the bad people were gone. I told him yes, but I wasn't sure I was telling the truth. You were, Mateo said. It's over. Really over. Then maybe you can finally exhale. Angela's hand found her brother's shoulder. Maybe you can stop carrying the weight of the world and just be Nico's father for a while. 3 weeks passed. 3 weeks of testimony and legal proceedings and slowly unwinding the knot of tension I'd been carrying since that first night at the diner. The city moved forward the way cities do, absorbing trauma and transforming it into statistics and news cycles that eventually faded. David Reeves resigned from Mateo's legal team, choosing instead to focus on rebuilding his marriage. Sarah was in therapy, processing her captivity with a professional who understood trauma. They'd survive, I thought, maybe even thrive once the nightmares faded. Marcus and Tony continued their work, now overseeing legitimate security operations that didn't require moral compromise. Elena returned to her quiet cabin, her role in our survival becoming the kind of story she'd never tell anyone except the people who already knew. And me? I quit the diner. Not out of fear or trauma, but because Mateo had offered me something I'd never imagined, a position managing his charitable foundation. Real work with real purpose, using the skills I'd developed reading people during 3 years of pouring coffee, helping others who'd been caught in systems they didn't understand, offering the kind of support I'd desperately needed and miraculously found. The foundation's office was in a renovated building downtown, all windows and light, nothing like the shadowy world Mateo had come from. I spent my days coordinating programs for families affected by violence, for kids who needed second chances, for people trying to transform their lives the way Mateo had transformed his. It was the kind of work that made me understand why he'd fought so hard for redemption, why going legitimate mattered more than money or power. Because helping people rebuild gave meaning to survival in ways revenge never could. On a Friday evening 4 weeks after the pier, Mateo picked me up from the office in his car, not the bulletproof SUV with tinted windows, but a normal sedan that suggested he was learning to let go of fear. Where are we going? I asked. Dinner. Real dinner. The one I promised you. No guns, no conspiracies, just 2 people figuring out what they mean to each other. He drove us to a small Italian restaurant in a neighborhood I didn't know, the kind of place with checkered tablecloths and candles in wine bottles and waiters who treated every customer like family. We sat at a corner table, and for the first time since I'd met him, Mateo looked completely relaxed. Tell me something I don't know about you, he said after we'd ordered. Like what? Anything. Something from before all of this, before the diner, before the chaos. Who were you when life was ordinary? I thought about that version of myself. The woman who'd existed before Nico's small hand in mine, before federal raids and basement negotiations and learning that courage was just fear you decided to act through anyway. I wanted to be a teacher, I said. Elementary school. I loved the idea of helping kids discover who they were before the world told them who they had to be. But my mother got sick and I needed money fast. And teaching requires degrees and student loans and time I didn't have. So I became a waitress instead. Told myself it was temporary. 3 years is a long temporary. I know. But temporary became comfortable. Comfortable became invisible. I stopped being a person with dreams and became someone who just survived. And now? Mateo's hand found mine across the table. What are you now? Now I'm someone who saved a child and somehow saved herself in the process. Someone who learned that transformation isn't about erasing who you were. It's about integrating all yourselves, the scared, the brave, the broken, the healing, into something whole. That's beautiful. That's therapy. I've been seeing someone processing everything. Turns out almost dying multiple times leaves psychological marks. Mateo smiled. And I saw in his face the boy Vincent had raised, the man who'd testified against his brother, the father who'd fought desperately to protect his son, the person who'd somehow emerged from decades of violence still capable of tenderness. "I'm in therapy too," he admitted. "Court mandated initially, but I kept going after the requirement ended. Turns out I have some things to work through." "Just some?" "Okay. A lot. Years of moral compromise and survival strategies that don't translate to legitimate life. I'm learning new patterns, new ways of being powerful that don't require fear." The food arrived, pasta and wine and bread that tasted like someone's grandmother had made it with love. We ate and talked about ordinary things, Nico's progress in school, Angela's new business venture, whether autumn in the city was actually more beautiful than autumn anywhere else. Conversation that felt revolutionary in its normalcy. After dinner, we walked through the neighborhood. The air was crisp with approaching winter, and the streetlights turned everything golden. Mateo's hand found mine, our fingers interlacing with the ease of people who'd survived fire together and emerged transformed. "I need to tell you something," he said as we stopped outside a small park. "About us. About what this is." My heart kicked against my ribs. "Okay. I'm falling in love with you. Have been since you walked up to my booth and asked for help. Since you chose courage over safety repeatedly. Since you saw me, really saw me, and decided I was worth standing beside anyway. I'm falling in love with you too," I said. The truth, simple and clear. "You're remarkable, Matteo Carbone, not despite your past, but including it. You transformed hell into purpose, and that's the bravest thing I've ever witnessed." He kissed me then, soft and certain. Two people choosing each other with clear eyes and full knowledge of the complications that choice entailed. Around us, the city continued its rhythm, indifferent to our small revolution. When we broke apart, Matteo pulled something from his pocket, a key. "This is to my brother's old apartment, the one he kept before prison. I've been cleaning it out, and I found something he left for Nico. I thought maybe we could go there together." Close that chapter properly. Vincent's apartment was in a building that had seen better decades, but the space itself was surprisingly warm. Books lined the walls. Photographs captured moments of two brothers before hate had carved distance between them. And on a shelf near the window sat a first edition of The Lightning Thief, wrapped in tissue paper, with a note. "For Nico, on his 10th birthday. May you always believe in heroes, even when the world tries to convince you they don't exist, especially the hero you'll become. Love, Uncle Vincent." I read the note twice, feeling tears burn behind my eyes. He loved him. Really loved him. He loved us both. Matteo's voice was thick. He just forgot how to show it without trying to control everything. Prison didn't make him cruel. It just amplified what was already there, the need to protect through dominance, to love through possession. But at the end, he chose differently. At the end, he remembered who he'd been before fear consumed everything else. Matteo wrapped the book carefully. "I'll give this to Nico when he's ready. When he can understand that people are complicated, that his uncle did terrible things but also, in the final moment, chose redemption." We left the apartment, locking the door on a past that no longer defined either of them. On the drive back to my place, the new apartment Matteo had helped me find in a neighborhood where streetlights worked and neighbors said hello, I thought about everything that had changed in 5 weeks. I'd gone from invisible waitress to someone who mattered. From surviving to actually living. From isolation to connection with people who saw me clearly and chose to stand beside me anyway. The transformation hadn't been easy or clean. It had cost something, my sense of safety, my belief that the world was fundamentally just, my illusion that I could stay uninvolved in other people's pain. But it had given me something more valuable, purpose, community, love that didn't require me to be smaller or quieter or less than what I was becoming. Matteo walked me to my door, and we stood in the hallway like teenagers, neither wanting the evening to end. "Stay," I said. "Not for anything except sleep. I just don't want to be alone tonight." "Okay." We lay in my bed in the dark, fully clothed, listening to the city hum beyond the windows. His arm wrapped around me, solid and warm, a promise that I wasn't alone anymore, that choosing connection over isolation was the bravest thing either of us could do. "Thank you," Matteo whispered into my hair. "For what?" "For seeing me when I'd forgotten how to see myself, For believing transformation was possible when I'd given up. For being brave enough to walk into the fire when everyone else would have run. Thank you for letting me. For trusting me with your broken places. For showing me that strength isn't about being invulnerable. It's about being honest enough to admit when you need help. We fell asleep like that. Two people who'd survived hell and emerged holding something fragile and new. Something that might grow into the kind of love that healed instead of destroyed. The kind that saw clearly and chose anyway. The kind worth every impossible decision that had brought us here. Morning came gentle. Sunlight through my bedroom window turning everything gold. Mateo was already awake, watching me with an expression I couldn't quite name. What? I asked, self-conscious. Nothing. Just memorizing this. You. Here. Safe. All of us still breathing. It feels like a miracle I don't deserve. You deserve it. We all do. Survival isn't something you earn. It's something you honor by building lives worth the fighting. We made coffee. Ate breakfast. Did mundane things that felt revolutionary after weeks of crisis. And as I stood at my window, watching the city wake up, I understood what Vincent had been trying to teach his brother all along. That power without purpose was just noise, that control was an illusion, that the only thing worth protecting was the people you loved and the person you were becoming. They say facing danger is how you get lost. I learned the opposite. It was only when I stopped looking away, from Nico in that crosswalk, from the fear that had been stalking me, from the impossible complicated man who needed help as much as I did, that I finally found myself. Not the invisible waitress serving coffee. Not the scared woman hiding from her own life. But someone brave enough to stand in the fire and transform it into light. Someone who understood that redemption isn't about erasing the past. It's about choosing, every single day, to be someone better than who you were yesterday. And that's enough. That's everything. That's the only victory that actually matters.